Hello and welcome to another episode of Yolt Presents Joker's Trick.
We live in a society.
This week, I mean, ominous laugh, Paul. It's almost like the movie that we're talking about this week is kind of a stinky.
It's kind of a bummer on many levels.
I was trying to think of what music, because the past couple episodes, the movies have all had like such distinctive themes that we could have come in.
This sounds like Shutterstock music, like Audio Jungle.
Well, no, there's an original song in this.
I go loony.
Da-da loony.
When I'm
da-da
loony.
Yeah.
Looney Toony.
Loony.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Sometimes you watch a shitty movie.
Do we want to take our bets now that it's going to be literally that in the prologue of Folie à Deux? That's what they're talking about doing.
No.
What if the prologue of Folie à Deux was just the entirety of this movie? Or just the first half of this movie, and then it was...
It's just like a looped repeat of Batgirl fucking Batman.
Yeah. It starts with, I bet you didn't expect for Joker 2 to begin with me, Batgirl. Then those 30 minutes play out, and then Joker 2 plays.
It's important context, either the pearls or Batgirl on a roof.
You have to choose. It's the two great tragedies of his life.
I'm Jan, by the way. I'm shocked.
I'm Joke.
I'm Batman, and I had sex with Batgirl.
Oh, God.
I didn't feel great about it. She came on to me. I feel awful about it. Where's the Joker? I need to go see the Joker.
I just can't believe what the fuck I just watched. Like, I always heard this was horrible. I always just thought it was horrible because it was the Killing Joke with cheapo Japanese animation that was outsourced Orlando Karate style. But it was, like, beyond my wildest nightmares.
Yes.
Truly a nightmare.
And we're not cheating this episode because this movie was theatrically released and is the 9th highest grossing R-rated animated film of all time. So technically, this fucking dog shit counts. You're welcome.
Technically, so does Batman Return of the Cape Crusader, but the Joker doesn't do anything interesting. He's just there.
But maybe that will pop up in this episode.
We'll acknowledge it. We're getting to it.
We'll also do some, faint acknowledgement of the rest of the DC animated universe Joker movies, but...
Well, no, it's the DC original animated movie universe.
Whatever.
What's that acronym? DIO.
Well, it depends on what era. Originally, it was DCOM, but then after Justice League War, it was DeCamu, and then after Apocalypse War, it became the Tomorrowverse. But that just ended, so now I don't know what it's called. I hope they just stop.
To reiterate a thought from an earlier episode, comics were a mistake.
No, animated movies of those comics that are just the art but worse were a mistake.
Yeah, you remember when I think I said in Mask of the Phantasm, like it might be weirdly appropriate that you turn drawings into drawings that move. Well, I should maybe we can temper those thoughts.
I'll go one step further. I think stories in general were a mistake. Last episode, Troy was going about like the power of storytelling, and I was like, yes, to make society worse, because this movie is a net negative towards our lives.
Yes, it was.
It was something everyone wanted for so long, and then they got it, and they were like, oh my God.
Well, the concept is that, like, what if we got Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill to voice Batman and the Joker, and they did The Killing Joke, one of the most beloved comic books of all time? That sounds like a great idea, and Bruce Timm is producing it. Win-win. What can possibly go wrong?
I can think of two things that can go wrong. One, none of them besides Mark Hamill want to make the movie. One. Two, they decide to do The Killing Joke right about the time it becomes super problematic, and they don't know what to do with it.
Yes. Did we say we're covering The Killing Joke? Yes.
Hey, everyone, we're talking about the 2016 animated film, The Killing Joke.
I'm a connoisseur when it comes to eau de toilette.
Oh, fuck me. Wait.
Wait, what are you going on about, Jake? You're not Batgirl.
My thing wasn't recording the entire time. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Yeah, now my mic is working.
Jake, what's going on? Are you having a bad day?
All it takes is one bad day.
Are you having a 30-minute long prologue that doesn't have shit to do with anything?
It was just sex, for God's sake.
The important thing to know right now is that Jake is fully nude.
Yeah, I'm fully nude. I just came out of a carnival there was a werewolf guy. There was a bunch of little Batmen.
I'm very scared.
So Batman the Killing Joke, where to begin? So there was this Englishman. His name was Alan Moore. But there was another guy who was working in comics in the 80s at the same time. His name was Brian Boland. And Brian Boland was a very good artist. And he went to DC Comics and they were like, hey, you're a great artist, Brian. What do you want to do? And he's like, well, the writer I want to work with is Alan Moore, and I want to do a Batman Joker story. And Alan Moore had just done Watchmen, redefined the media with making a comic book that had literary merit. It was written primarily for adults and was very well done.
And it had full-on penetration in it.
It did. It had much.
I'm actually not making this up this time.
No, there was.
You mean full-on penetration of a bullet into your spine?
Yes, and also the penis kind.
Oh, okay.
All right, so back to the comic book. It's 1988. Alan Moore, he is feeling very edgy. He has just written a pitch called Twilight of the Gods, which was about the future of the DC universe, where Superman and Wonder Woman were married and were dictators, and Captain Marvel was married to his sister, and Batman killed all the other superheroes at the end, and Superman got beat to death. He was just feeling very edgy. So he wanted to write a comic book that humanized our friend the Joker, that took the classic Bill Finger Red Hood origin, and maybe showed that the Joker was having a bad time, but also haven't tried to break Batman by paralyzing a character we have not yet met. Well, actually a character we first met 2 weeks ago. Barbara Gordon, a.k.a. Batgirl, who had just been written out of being Batgirl, possibly to tie into this comic. The comic was not supposed to be in continuity, but Alan Moore...
But they did it anyway.
Alan Moore asked the editor at the time, Len Wein, I believe, is how you pronounce his name, co-creator of Wolverine. He said, hey, Len, are you okay if I paralyze Batgirl? And he said, yeah, cripple the bitch. And Alan Moore said, in retrospect, that might be the creative decision in my career I regret the most, because it was very not nice.
Yes.
And problematic, and took a lot of her agency away. But they made the comic book. It's Alan Moore writing Batman and the Joker. It's very good. Becomes a landmark comic. The idea...
It's a banger.
It is a banger. Alan Moore hates it.
He hates everything he's ever touched.
Yeah, but he said this is like the worst thing he's ever written. Like, he's like, the one thing I would give up is The Killing Joke. Because he feels that he was just having a bad time, and he took two larger-than-life children's characters called Batman and the Joker, whose psychology doesn't really make sense, and he tried to put real-world psychology into it, and it doesn't work for him, and he hates it.
He had a quote. In 2003, he said, "The Killing Joke is a story about Batman and the Joker. It isn't about anything that you're ever going to encounter in real life, because the Batman and the Joker are not like any human beings that have ever lived. So there's no important human information being imparted. Yeah, it was something I thought was clumsy, misjudged, and had no real human importance. It was just about a couple of licensed DC characters that didn't really relate to the real world in any way."
Now let me tell you the story about how Harry Potter jizzes on Alan Quartermain. So.
Well, yes, that's very important.
Yes, so, I mean, I guess this may be giving away some of our final thoughts, but, you know, Alan Moore is certainly susceptible to the lure of kind of meta, very clever, you know, taking a step back from the construction of storytelling and the myths and the tropes and all that. But in this case, he seemed to have regretted it.
Yeah, which is funny because he loves Superman. and I've talked about this, like there's so many comic book writers who hate all superheroes except Superman. And it's interesting to look at in my mind because I think a lot of people would say, well, Superman can fly. He's not as realistic as Batman. But then Alan Moore is like, but the way Superman looks at the world, like he can envision his, like how he looks at things and how he struggles with his dual identity and how he wants to help people. But the idea that one person would have such a garbage day that it ruins his whole life and he becomes this over-prepared psycho who's trying to either fight crime or do crime. Like there's no one like that in the real world.
So the point is, this comic book is a big deal, and I think every one of us had read it before seeing the film. Yes.
Yes.
So, fun fact about Troy: how old were you guys all when you read The Killing Joke for the first time?
I was in high school when I
Okay.
first read it.
Yeah, I think I was like 16.
I was
Okay.
in my late 50s.
All right. Paul was in his late
In
50s.
cat years, of course. But
In cat years, of course. Gentle listeners, Troy was 8 years old when he read The Killing Joke for the first time.
Oh, wow. Someone giving a fucking medal.
Why? Because, again, Alan Moore was right. Because this story is so important, this is a story where Barbara Gordon got crippled and became Oracle, which her high-tech...
She doesn't
her second
become
phase-
Oracle in the book, to be sure,
No.
but because of the events of this book, they folded into continuity, which led to the creation of the character Oracle.
Yes.
yeah, I don't think Alan Moore is going and being like, I think it's gonna be so cool when she's like working computers. I don't know if that was.
Yeah, no, that was not part of it. That was John Ostrander and Kim Yates. I'm messing up the name. They rescued her and made Barbara Gordon Oracle in Suicide Squad. But because it was canon, they include The Killing Joke in all of those DK kids' guides to Batman where they have like the complete history of Batman's comic book history. And like, I read it and I'm like, oh, this is an important Batman story. I'll check it out. I'm in the 2nd grade. I read it and I was traumatized. I was like, what the hell? Why are they taking off Commissioner Gordon's pants? What are these photos of?
Oh, dude, come on. It's funny. It's for kids, you know. It's like when you were traumatized by the Joker that farts and sings Prince.
Oh, we should also say with Brian Bolland, he never liked the color choice of the original version of The Killing Joke. So in the mid-2000s, he went back and redid it.
Yeah, it sucks. I'm going to say it. I hate the recoloring. I was traumatized by that comic book in part because all the yellows, the acid yellows and purples and oranges really made it look like a frickin' nightmare. Like it frickin' broke me. And now everything's clean, everything's overlit. It's kind of like going from Batman the Animated Series to Batman the Caped Crusader, where one is like all very dark and messy and grungy and has a lot of atmosphere. And then the other is like the same art style, but everything's evenly lit. Everything's clearly in focus.
I think I've only ever read the recolored version because now I'm looking at the original one and
Yeah.
it looks really cool.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, I think The Killing Joke is a good comic, all problematic stuff aside, but like taking out that coloring ruined. Also, he redid his Batman, so he doesn't have the yellow oval. And it kind of messes up a lot of the compositions, because like a lot of the compositions I feel need him to have the yellow oval. Like when Barbara like pulls the cape apart to reveal his bat symbol, it just falls so flat.
Right.
I think it's sorry, Brian Bolland, you're a great artist. It doesn't look bad, but like I think it completely messes up.
But you George Lucas, your
You George
book.
Lucas, your thing.
So I think there are a few important points here. First of all, even the artist doesn't like how this comic turned out.
Yes.
Or the writer.
So second of all, much of the impact is the visuals. I mean, Alan Moore is still, to be clear.
He's having fun with that dialogue.
Oh, yes, Alan Moore can write. Hot take. And it seems like, in our research about Tim Burton, that I think the key thing in the storyline is crystallizing the idea about Batman and the Joker are both freaks, and Joker's like, it doesn't take much to become like me, and how his origin, one version of it, he falls into the chemicals and so on.
Right.
And those were key ideas that seem to have been crystallized here that everybody draws from when they say, oh, we're drawing from The Killing Joke. Because outside of that, there's not a whole lot of plot here, right?
Well, it's mostly the thing that people like about it is the idea that the Joker and Batman fighting each other is cyclical. What Tim Burton drew from this is just like, man dressed as Bat, upholds the law, needs to fight colorful comic book man, and it keeps going until one of them dies.
And the clown man farts. Troy was like talking about this when we talked about Massive Phantasm. Like, where I was saying that for me in Massive Phantasm, the ending has a more powerful punch to me if the Joker dies. But on this one, I actually think the ending, well, it's the comic book, you know? Like, the movie, I'm just going to say it's a piece of shit. Yeah, the ending of the comic book, I was going to say, like, I prefer the idea that the Joker doesn't die, that this is like a cyclical thing.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and that's the thing that people like about this, because for 50 years of comics, it was always Batman fighting the Joker, and this one had a fun little story that commented on that.
Right. Again, yeah, the Alan Moore can't resist the meta factor, right?
I mean, I do think that's the weird thing is, like, people today are like, the Killing Joke is so problematic and it's aged so poorly. But I think every version of the Joker, besides the 60s one, every version of the Joker we've encountered so far in this podcast, and really every version of Batman, has kind of been built on this whole one bad day idea and the cyclical nature of it. Like, yeah, Tim Burton, his favorite comic, he's very much taking from this, that they created each other and that it's a cycle. Mask of the Phantasm, kind of, it's not Mr. Gordon, it's Andrea Beaumont, but it's the story of, like, what's that one push that makes you fall into the abyss? What makes you insane? And The Dark Knight or Return of the Joker. Again, it's the idea of Harvey Dent. Will Harvey Dent fall for the one bad day? Again, The Dark Knight really is an adaptation of The Killing Joke.
It is.
In that climax. So this story, even though Alan Moore says it's very shallow, he more or less has provided the moral, like, the philosophical undergirding of every version of Batman and the Joker ever since this came out.
May I be so bold as to say that I think all these people were saying is they took away these kind of thematic ideas about the construction of the characters, not the plot, right? Not Batgirl and Gordon,
it's so
right?
slim, though. I would say that, yeah, it's not. No, actually, I'm going to counter on that. Again, the idea is that The Killing Joke had great themes, but the story is bad. I don't think you can say people threw the story away when Christopher Nolan literally has James Gordon forced to make the impossible choice, or he kills a female character who's been pre-established to act like all the problematic stuff in The Killing Joke, besides, like, rape implications, are also in The Dark Knight, I would argue. So
okay,
it's influential no matter what.
It's, well, the vague beats of Joker does a thing to prove his point that anyone can become bad. It's like, yeah, that's the thing that people lifted. But I guess, like, if you want to get granular about it, no one has adapted straight up the small scale nature of this story.
Not until the film that we're discussing did someone try to put what happens to Batgirl on the screen, right?
Well, actually, that's not true. In the pilot to Birds of Prey, the one-season WB show, there's a flashback at the beginning to the final war between Batman and the Joker, and the actress who plays Barbara Gordon, Dina Meyer from Starship Troopers, she opens her door and the Joker is there, and he shoots her in the spine, and he says something, and it's Mark Hamill's voice, which is the one time Mark Hamill ever played the Joker in live action. So technically, there was a live action adaptation of the Joker shooting Barbara Gordon in official DC media in, like, 2001, 2002? Yes.
Okay, so the answer is no, because no one's ever seen that.
All right, so Troy, how did this movie come to pass?
So, yeah, they had never done an animated movie of it. Everyone always wanted to see Kevin Conroy, the definitive Batman, and Mark Hamill, the definitive Joker, make this. Mark Hamill stopped playing the Joker a long time before Kevin Conroy stopped playing Batman, but they both came back for the Arkham Asylum video games, which a lot of people love.
Including myself. They're very fun.
I haven't really played many of them. I've only played a little bit.
They're so fucking good, dude. Like,
they're good. which again is about the Joker murdering a woman Batman loves. And again, the beats are always there. We're going through Alan Moore's garbage, everyone. I would argue the way the original comic is written is woman important to the main characters. She is violently assaulted. The main character, it's basically the Searchers. The main character must then go get that guy and decide if he's going to become just as bad as that guy to get revenge for the lady friend.
It's a less problematic, a woke version of the Searchers, if you will.
Yes, I think we can all agree. The Killing Joke, totally less. Oh, wait, that's a good question. All right, hot take. The Searchers is a better movie than The Killing Joke is a comic. There, I said it.
The point here is that, yes, there's a lot of problematic stuff here, but we are fresh off talking about, like, 26 James Bond movies, so
Right.
This is like a bell hooks book for us. Like,
All right, so Arkham Asylum, Mark Hamill's back in the throne as Joker, and you know, he always wanted to do Killing Joke because it's like Joker gets a lot of meaty monologues. At this time, Bruce Timm, after wrapping up Justice League Unlimited, he started making something called the DC Universe Animated Original Movies, which were basically a line of animated movies that were no longer tied to a specific TV show or a continuity like Mask of the Phantasm and Mystery of the Batwoman were. They were just standalone movies, usually based off a storyline from the comics that were allowed to be PG-13, hard PG-13, like they could show blood, they could imply the characters have sex, and they could adapt all the stuff from the comics to their heart's desire. And so Killing Joke was always something people were asking for because not only were Kevin and Mark down, Alan Moore, the only adaptation of his work that Alan Moore has ever liked was the Justice League Unlimited episode version of For the Man Who Has Everything.
Oh, that episode's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a really solid adaptation. It takes that annual size comic and condenses it down to 22 minutes. It cuts out Robin and changes the details of Superman's like Kryptonian life to fit the continuity of the DC animated universe. And it works. It gets the comic pretty much exactly right, and you have the same emotional impact as the comic. And Alan Moore's like, yeah, that one got it. So Bruce Timm is Alan Moore approved to adapt this comic book. However, we have one problem. The comic book is only 48 minutes long.
48 pages.
48 pages long. You can probably read it quicker if you're like me and you can read through it in 15 minutes. Even as a traumatized 8-year-old. Oh, God. I checked out a book on that. I checked out that and the book on the Jonestown Massacre, like, within 2 months of each other.
When you were in second grade?
Yes! I thought the
Why?
Jonestown Massacre was going to be like the Boston Massacre. I didn't know it was like a cult thing until I read it. And I was like, what the hell?
So you had a few bad days, but...
I had a few bad days thanks to my library card.
Okay, answer me a couple of questions. Okay, so Bruce Timm has begun this series of animated direct-to-video movies.
That over time, he gradually becomes less involved with.
Okay.
And Kevin Conroy becomes more involved with. Like, Kevin Conroy is constantly playing Batman in these things.
Okay, so Kevin Conroy is voicing many of these?
Yes.
Okay, and Mark Hamill is not up to this? Or, like, is this when he comes back
I
after not
do
doing
believe,
these?
if I am remembering correctly, correct me, put in a little disclaimer here if I'm misremembering. I do not believe that Mark Hamill... He acted in DC projects, like he played the Spectre in Batman Brave and the Bold. Like, he was still a DC character, but I do not believe he returned to play the Joker in an animated filmed project that you would watch like a movie. Well, I'm trying to figure out if Justice League Action was before this, after this, or at the exact same time.
I think it was right either the same time or after, right?
Yeah, so he would come back to play the Joker in Justice League Action opposite Kevin Conroy and James Woods as Lex Luthor, but this was his return really to playing Joker in a movie, not in a video game or some weird side thing. This was the return of Mark Hamill, and he was the one who really was pushing for this project. He felt his tenure as the Joker would not be complete until he did this project. I feel we should talk now there becomes a great debate in the community about Mark Hamill's Joker voice, because in Arkham Asylum, it got raspier for plot reasons.
Yeah, he's dying in Arkham City.
And he's dead in Arkham Knight.
Yes. Well, it works there because he's supposed to play a little bit of a scarier Joker because this is rendered in 3D. It's a 3D game.
It's a scarier Joker than we've ever had before. He's 3D.
I know, it really is. He's terrifying.
Yeah, no, he is.
His hairline's atrocious.
But yeah, no, when he does this, he does still have the raspy voice. But we should also talk about how, yeah, the problematic nature of adapting this, besides, the problematic stuff in the story, is how do we make this feature length?
Yes, because it's so short.
Well, they sure figured that one out.
And Bruce Timm, by this point, I think it's safe to say, listeners, that we're all aware that Bruce Timm likes to bring out, he likes playing in edgy waters, edgy material. And he really did not want to do The Killing Joke. Zero enthusiasm. He's not even the director on this movie. The director is Sam Liu.
He's not the writer either, so we should bring that up.
Well, he broke down the story, but he brought on his co-writer, comic book writer, Brian Azzarello. I don't know how many of our listeners are comic book fans, but Brian Azzarello kind of is similar to Alan Moore, where most of his writing was not superhero stuff. His most famous comic is 100 Bullets. And Brian Azzarello, after the success of the Heath Ledger Joker, him and Lee Bermejo, don't know if I'm saying the name correctly, they teamed up on a graphic novel called Joker, which was about a guy who becomes a henchman for the Joker. And it's just all about the Joker's sick, twisted daily life.
Sounds pretty good.
So they brought him on to write the Killing Joke script. He also wrote a Batman weekly comic strip. He also wrote a graphic novel about Lex Luthor. He was a comic book writer that looked at things from the darker side of it. They brought him on, and instead of writing more stuff about the Joker, they did not.
I think their idea was they wanted to establish Batgirl Barbara Gordon as a character so that you would feel bad if you were put you in the frame of mind of a comic reader in 1988 who had read issues of Batman and you've gotten to know Batgirl as a character.
Yes.
But why did they do it like this?
Well, there's the rub.
It was just sex, for God's sake.
This movie came out in 2016. Now, 2016, if you're old enough to remember, was a year when we all knew we should vote for Hillary Clinton, but we couldn't bring ourselves to do that in a healthy and productive way, so we got Donald Trump. So much like that, we knew if we were going to make an adaptation of Batman the Killing Joke, we should give Batgirl more agency, more of a role. In the comic, which is only 48 pages long, she is just there to be shot and used as a prop in the trinity between Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and the Joker. Even though I do like to point out that, honestly, Batman and Commissioner Gordon also do not get a lot of development in The Killing Joke. It's mainly just Joker who gets any development, and the other two are just kind of themselves.
Well, I was going to speak to that. I guess we can get to it, yeah.
But yes, so in true 2016 fashion, we were like, let's give this woman more agency. And in true 2016 fashion, Bruce Timm and Brian Azzarello were like, we don't really want to make this movie. Let's just make it more controversial, because the book's already controversial. Let's just add more controversy to it and do the worst things we can possibly think of.
And somehow make the Batgirl part even worse than it is already in The Killing Joke.
And let's also make it so it's completely disconnected from The Killing Joke, besides having Batman and Batgirl in both. It has nothing to do with...
Almost, because the thing is, Batgirl barely has any lines in the actual Killing Joke part of it. And it's just it's a relationship with Batman, who has almost no character in the prologue and has a little more in the actual Killing Joke,
Right.
He's a robot in this, and it befuddled me.
This to me feels like in the writer's room, someone said oh, in our expansion, we should give more, more of a character to Batgirl. And they just like ran with that idea to the point where like they were just making a bad girl movie, and then they were just like, oh yes, the Killing Joke. And like we literally, it's one of the hardest shifts I've ever fucking seen in a movie. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they cooked up, they were like, oh, we'll have her monologue, we'll have her work at the library, and it's like, oh god, it's only 10 minutes. It needs to be another 20 minutes, you know?
I think in their minds, their idea was, let's just do the Batgirl Batman relationship because it's shocking. And also, we're going to set up weird mirrors to the Batman Joker relationship where this Paris Franz guy is Batgirl's Joker, but also Batman is her
Who is
Joker.
This guy? Like, what?
He's just some guy. He looks like Lupin the Third.
He looks like the Joker.
Why couldn't they make it about the Joker? Why couldn't the Joker be robbing a bank? Like, what?
No, like, logically, in my mind, I'm like, why is it not just the Joker is doing a whole crime spree? Batman's like, you're off the case. Or, all right, I'm going to give credit to this idea. This was a TV tropes idea.
Okay.
They were like, why don't you have the Joker is doing something, Barbara Gordon, as Barbara Gordon, stops him, and so he targets Barbara Gordon on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Like something like that.
Like that would have been so easy. And you know what? Maybe you could take that scene where he buys the carnival and just put it at the beginning. And like, you know, just spread the actual comic book out and then just add more Batman and Joker stuff. The idea that the only Joker stuff in The Killing Joke had to be stuff taken verbatim from the comic is lunacy to me.
Well, they should have. I don't even think they should have done that. They should have kept it as like a short, but like as part of like, it's like the feature presentation of like an anthology of Batman shorts, because they would probably fuck up the story of The Killing Joke if you pad it out too much and if you have like all these other twists and turns. And I like in the original story where it's just randomly targeting Barbara Gordon because, well, not randomly, it's to get under the skin of specifically Commissioner Gordon, but it's seemingly random. Like that is terrifying, and I don't know how you can add to it.
No, it'll make it worse, but it would make it better than what we got, you know? It's like...
Well, yeah, like it would be a logical way to expand the story instead of here's a 30-minute Batgirl story followed by a 40-minute Joker thing where she's not really important, and then a post-credit scene where she's Oracle, and we didn't explore any of that. I mean, you could go in the opposite direction and have her get paralyzed at the 30-minute mark of the movie, and then have the rest of the movie be Batman hunting for Commissioner Gordon and just expand it to like a period of, but then that ruins the whole one bad day part of it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, well, that's the thing is that they knew that they couldn't pad out the story of The Killing Joke. So they're like, well, we'll have this bisected thing that vaguely connects to the themes.
I bet this isn't how you thought this movie would start.
Well, and the thing is that, like, everything about Barbara Gordon, like, her entire motivation revolves around her relationships with men.
Like, what motivate? Like, what's her motivate? Like, she's in a hospital bed, you know?
Yeah. What's she actually doing in that second half is nothing.
Well, and it's so interesting because when Barbara Gordon was in The Killing Joke in the comics, yes, she was a minor character, but she had been a congresswoman. She had been her own functioning superhero on her own. Like, she was pretty independent.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I kind of respect the unorthodox approach that this. I can sort of understand the logic of like, oh, there's this intimidating work. It's not long enough. We're not going to try to mess with it. So let's just add like some supplemental material or something. But this is not. Yeah, if they had some kind of like speed run of like The Adventures of Batgirl, maybe that would set you up more appropriately for what the effect of the story originally had, right?
Well, I think it's two things. One, the first half is, not only does it not have anything to do plot-wise with the fucking Killing Joke, but it's so horribly fucking written.
Yes.
Like, in every way, that there's that clash, too. That's one, and the other thing is that it's the classic, like, a bunch of smelly dudes get in a room, they're like this is what a feminist looks like.
It's the most reductive characterization of Barbara Gordon I have ever seen.
It's the most sexist shit I've ever seen.
Where it's literally dictated by like how men see her, but like in like this really bizarre way where she's like, I kind of like my villain, I kind of like the chase, and also I really like Batman, and it's all about her relationship problems. I'm like, god damn it, are we in the fucking 50s where like the only sort of character thing is all dictated on her relationships, and that's it? Like that's like the folly, that's like the thing that doesn't make her Batgirl anymore.
What really bothers me about it, though, is the one relationship with a man that doesn't come up at all in the 30-minute thing is her relationship to her dad. And the whole point of the Killing Joke is the Joker exploiting the Commissioner Gordon's love for his, like, again, it's like...
And we don't see that at all.
There's anything, literally anything to connect it to the original story. And instead they come up with like, hey, you know what will make the Killing Joke less problematic? If we make up something new that's so problematic.
It counteracts the Killing Joke.
It's like if someone stabs you, you're like, ow, I've been stabbed. And you're like, don't worry. And they like chop your arm off. And they're like, I bet that stabbing doesn't seem so bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Except in reverse order, they chop your arm off and then they stab you.
and then they make you have sex with your father figure. So this is the thing.
Should we like get into like the plot so we can just rag on this in real time at this point?
Okay, yeah. It starts and it's, you know how some movies like it takes some time for you to be like, I'm not sure. Oh, I think this is bad. Yeah, this isn't going anywhere. This is one of those movies where the first second you're like, holy fuck.
Uh-oh.
Where it starts like, hello, my name is Barbara Gordon, and this is my crazy city. And they play the city is built on rock and roll.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
First of all, I realize this is probably not how you thought the story would start.
And I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Yes, and we're immediately confronted with the look of this movie, which is worth discussing as well.
Yes.
This is a different style from what we've encountered in the previous two animated films.
It's also different from even some of the other direct-to-video DC movies at the time, because you look at Batman Year One or Dark Knight Returns, it doesn't feel as like stiff or like, you know, like there's not like the frame shifts where like there's so little frames of animation where they're just barely walking. Like everything is still kind of smooth.
Which I think is this series' biggest flaw. We'll talk more about these animated movies. At the beginning, pretty well animated. As time has gone on, the budgets have gone down.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just moving mouths. Like the budgets are just getting worse and worse for these movies. And this movie, because again, it was a marquee project. It was the first R-rated movie, I think, in the series.
Yeah.
It was the first R-rated movie of all time.
It was. Deadpool wasn't even rated R until this movie came out. They had to go back and put the R rating on Deadpool.
and not even for its explicit content. The MPAA was just like, no one should see this. Don't see it.
Restricted to no one.
Yeah, no one. It's actually, it's banned. Burn it. Kill it with fire.
Completely banned. I will say though, like especially knowing how the look of animated Batman will evolve, I was impressed that it wasn't super limited. I think part of it is the tension again of the designs. I mean, it's never going to look like the comic, obviously.
Especially Killing Joke.
Would we care that much that the animation is kind of subpar and clearly outsourced if this was good at all? No, it'd be like it's a cartoon, you know?
I will say this. I think the animation, mainly because I've watched all of these stupid movies, the animation is not the movie's biggest flaw. I think it's animated fine. It doesn't have the atmosphere. I mean, its biggest flaw is that it looks like the recolored version of the Killing Joke and not the original version, which is incredibly stylized.
Well, if the illustrator had a stroke, but I see what you're saying.
Yes.
It's like if Frank Miller illustrated the Killing Joke.
You just don't have moments like even in Return of the Joker, there's moments where the Joker is in shadow and light is flickering across his face.
Yeah.
Even when he's in shadow in this movie, you'll never see a light flicker across someone's face.
I mean, there is
movie.
one shot where it's like the extreme close-up of the Joker smiling.
Oh, with the white dot of the eye.
Yeah, and it looks like ass.
Yeah, it's just a drawing. It's not animated.
Yeah, that's probably the best looking drawing in the movie because they had to adapt that because literally everyone references that design of the Joker when he's in shadow and there's the singular white circle for his pupil.
My point is, like, the first half, really bad story with mediocre animation. Second half, really good story with mediocre animation. So it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like, why would you want to watch The Killing Joke with bad animation?
I mean,
like,
even
it's
when you get to the good parts, or the parts that you came to see, at least.
yeah, it's so uninteresting to me. Just like, oh, it's just like The Killing Joke, but it looks worse.
I'll say that the look it's definitely leaning more into anime sensibility because it's trying to go more detailed, like the comic.
A little bit.
But I think the animation quality is about on par with the 90s TV in terms of like the level of movement, right? And you don't mind that so much when it's TV when they're so simple.
No, there's still a lot more movement in those early Batman the Animated Series episodes and even like New Batman Adventures. Like they still get a lot of mileage out of those character designs.
I mean, I think it's better directed, but there's a lot of static stuff in the old stuff as well.
But not on the level of this where it's so jerky.
I think it's a little more suited like the way they have like Batgirl's like run cycle that just kind of like plays on a loop. It just looks more awkward, and I think the combination of elements. I admire the attempt, I guess, but the CG cars and in the background, some of them are 3D, some of them are 2D. Painted digitally, doesn't really blend, in my opinion.
Yeah. But anyways, going back to this fucking story.
So Batgirl is Batgirl.
Right off the bat, it's just like, okay, so we need to empathize with this girl and her struggle. What do girls like? Okay, they like having gay friends. They don't like when you make jokes about their period. And they like having sex with their dad. So I mean, there we go. And
so it begins with Batgirl. Isn't she like spying on Commissioner Gordon and Batman, like talking?
Yes.
And she's like, "I'm not invited." Again, part of the weird thing I think about this prologue is what's going on with the Bat family. That it's only Batman and I guess we do see a dead Robin later, but it is like the actual dynamic of Batman and Batgirl. It kind of feels like she just kind of is stalking him a little bit.
And also that he's like a sexist pig, no?
Just that he doesn't like her. Like, he just doesn't take her seriously.
He's giving us nothing. We're getting nothing from Batman.
Yeah.
Well, yes, first of all, we should mention that Conroy's performance in this is not the best.
Have to be there. Tell Gordon I need to talk.
All right, so I'm thinking about this. Is it not the best, or just he just really have nothing to work with? Because I don't know if he really delivers the lines poorly or if the lines just don't make sense.
He's doing the Batman voice.
Yes, Jake, he is doing the Batman voice.
Kind of. It's like between the Batman voice and his own voice, which is weird because in Arkham Knight, he was still doing fully the market, but here it kind of feels like sometimes he just doesn't care and he just dips into his real voice and he's like ordering lunch, the fucking.
Well, we just really like you watch this 30-minute section. You're just like, what does Batman feel about Batgirl? I have absolutely no idea, right?
What? No, I'll tell you. What he feels like is that some guy made a sexist comment about her, and Batman's response to that was, "You're fired," which is incredible.
You're gonna take this too personally. He's gonna fuck with you. Like he so undermines Batgirl to the fact that like some bozo, they're trying to build up as like this is her Joker, and I'm like,
yes,
really? Paris Franz is Batgirl's Joker? He's just a guy. He's just like a Redditor. Like that. And that's like, is Batgirl that fragile where she's going to like be duped by this guy? And the movie's answer is yes.
Okay, there's a reason for this, and part of this reason again points to them not giving a crap. There's this 2-part episode of the animated series, and TV Tropes is what pointed this out to me. called Robin's Reckoning. This random gangster is released from prison, Tony Zuko, and he's the guy who killed Robin's parents. So Robin's like, I gotta get him. And Batman's like, no, Robin, you can't. You're too emotionally invested in him. You're fired. And I don't want you. And he's like, but he's just a random gangster, Batman. And he's like, but you care too much.
Well, he has a reason there because Tony Zuko killed Robin's parents.
So he was afraid Tony Zuko was going to kill Robin, but Robin's like a ninja.
No, well, he was also afraid that he was going to fall into the dark black abyss.
The abyss. The place where you don't care anymore. Where all hope dies.
Batgirl's gonna fall into the dark black abyss because some guy tried his Type 5
Yeah, exactly. Which is the problem of this movie, which is the problem of Paris France.
But she almost does. She almost does fall into the dark. We'll get to it, but she almost beats a man to death.
Which makes it even worse on the writers and the creators thinking that this is a way to improve on the gender politics of this story. It's just like, so what is the end all be all? Basically a Redditor who is, I guess, good at hacking his uncle's bank account, who says sexist things. And that's enough to take Batgirl over the edge to kill somebody. That experience is so traumatizing that she ends being Batgirl altogether.
So you can have like this weird, like Batman being like, it's too personal. How could you, whatever. And she's frustrated and she's like, you're not respecting me. And how in God's name does this flip around into furious banging?
Well, because you see, Paul, I'll explain to you, because she's a girl and girls like having sex a lot.
Girls like having sex a lot with older, mysterious men. And Batman is the oldest, most mysterious
Yes.
man ever. He was born in like 1915.
Remember, when a girl is angry at you, she's just trying to fuck you, according to this movie. I learned
She's
so
just
much.
trying to understand you. And she's just like, it was just sex.
It was just sex, for God's sake.
And she takes that all of her aggression on Paris France.
She tells her friend, I'm seeing someone, but we're not dating. I'm seeing my yoga teacher, but we're not dating. And like, Batman's just like, did you beat up that guy? Like, they are not together. So what is she even saying?
No, they're not. I mean, even if, I kind of knew what was happening because it was described by you guys. I saw this for the first time, by the way.
Oh, when you were 8?
No, he was 55.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're all 55.
You were you weirdo.
Her discussions with her gay best friend in the library,
Bernard,
do not necessarily indicate, like, she's giving cover for somebody, but she's framing it in terms of like, well, in a way it's an intimate relationship. And I'm like, well, I guess you could say that. There's a lot of tight spandex.
We gotta talk about that great character, because like, girls' best friends are obviously gay, because this movie really understands girls, and it obviously really understands gay people, because gay people always say things like, and I thought the gay scene was complicated. Sheesh.
And they say the gay scene is complicated. What?
They're always saying things like, I am a gay character.
Yeah. That's classic Alan Moore.
Okay, so the point is, even with all this goofiness...
can we talk about Paris France before we talk about the sex scene? No, Paris France is such a weird-ass character. So instead of using any of the gangsters or like the supervillains, we have this young guy who's angry at his dad.
Uncle.
Okay, he's angry at his uncle. But you know what he does that really bothers me? This really bothers me. He leaves clues for Batgirl on a little cell phone, which implies it's set now. But at one point, when he takes out his uncle, he's like, my uncle belonged to the past, the time of the telephone booth and the pork pie hat. And I'm like, what millennial, I'm assuming he's like a millennial, what millennial is using Buster Keaton pork pie hat as like a reference point to the past?
Well, us, clearly.
Yeah, us.
Well, later on, as we find out, pork pie hats were in style at the time when the Joker was younger, apparently.
Oh yeah, no, this also ties into my larger question of, when does this take place? Because the flashbacks raise some questions. So now they're at the rooftop, and now the whole world's about to get wet. And Batman's mad at Batgirl for taking on her cheek-boned, purple-wearing, sexual harassing villain who is not the Joker.
I mean, he literally, I mean, I guess it's supposed to be, maybe they're thinking that like structurally, but like literally the only thing different about this guy is he's like, I think Batgirl's hot, and he's like saying this like publicly, right?
Yeah.
And this like messes her up.
No, it messes Batman up.
No, but that's what's interesting is they don't really show Batman reacting. Like, imagine if they could foreshadow it by being like, Batman is just like looking at like audio tape and being like, he shouldn't talk about you like that. He should respect your red hair and your blue eyes and your narrow. Like, there's no, like, Batman is just
no, I bet because the way it comes off across in the movie is the exact same as like, say, like, you're the boss of like some accounting firm, and then you have an employee that has an important client, and you're like, the client thinks that you're hot, so I gotta fire you from the case because it's distracting, you know.
It's gonna distract you so hard, Barbara.
Yeah, it's like, didn't Legally Blonde solve this like 25 years ago?
Batman has never seen Legally Blonde. He's only seen Serendipity.
But we should talk about how things get complicated when infamously Batgirl and Batman have sex on a rooftop in front of a gargoyle.
I really want to point out what makes the scene so weird is like, okay, I'm famously on record on this podcast that I totally get when two people are getting angry and hot and heavy and that leads to sex. That's a time-honored movie trope. Well, and we should honor that.
I was going to say, when asked, I think Bruce Timm basically said, people are complicated, which
I have the quote right here. So Bruce Timm added, "We were aware that it's a little risky. That's definitely some stuff in the first part of the movie that's going to be controversial. Here's where we came down on that specific issue. It was really important to us to show that both of the characters make some pretty big mistakes. I mean, his parental skills, in quotes, aren't that great. Maybe never having any kids of his own, he doesn't realize that
you don't fuck your kids."
Yeah, no, maybe he doesn't realize that if you tell a kid not to do something, they're going to want it even more. And then she makes some mistakes, and then he kind of overreacts to her mistakes, and then she overreacts to his overreaction. So it's very human. It's a very understandable story.
Yeah, that all makes sense, but that doesn't involve the sex. Again, you could do a story about Batman and Batgirl like having communication problems. That doesn't have anything to do with the Killing Joke, and it doesn't have anything to do with them banging on a rooftop.
Basically, what he just said is, kids, you know how they are. You tell them not to do something, you do it, you end up banging. You know?
They both make mistakes, but it has no, like, the repercussions of it is just like, this is the thing that makes Batgirl quit being Batgirl.
And that Batman is really sad. It explains why Batman's so sad when she gets shot in the spine. He wouldn't have been this sad.
Yeah,
normally.
he wouldn't have been this sad if he had, like, you know, a platonic relationship. No, they need to have sex because we need to overcomplicate the relationship.
And again, I think it's just all confirmed by like the aftermath where it's like he won't even talk to her. It makes no sense.
Batman feels traumatized by the whole experience.
I don't know what we did. Okay, we didn't see Batman like had taken a cold shower after.
No, Batman gives us nothing. He's giving us nothing through this whole thing.
I didn't know about cold showers until I saw Batman take a cold shower in a panel in my Ultimate Batman Encyclopedic Guide.
What do you mean? You didn't know the concept of taking a shower?
I was 8, Jan, and
8-year-olds understand the concept of
Jan,
cold water.
I have so much trauma. Okay.
Wait, so the Batman Encyclopedia explains how Batman deals with inappropriate erections? Is that?
But the point I want to make about this scene, and I think this is an important point to make, is the Batman-Batgirl relationship is a very controversial Bruce Timm thing. And I think Jake's quote kind of cuts to the core of why it's so controversial when logically, maybe it shouldn't be. Because in the original comics, Barbara Gordon was closer to Bruce Wayne's age than she was to Dick Grayson's age. Dick Grayson was a teenager who had a crush on her sometimes. Batgirl, despite the name, was an adult woman. She had her own life. She was a librarian. She was a congresswoman. In the Adam West show, she dated him sometimes in their civilian guises. This was what Bruce Timm and company grew up on as kids. What happens in Batman the Animated Series is that Bruce Timm and the creative team decided to make Batgirl college-aged and the same age as Dick Grayson.
And also, like, I mean, from what I gather, over the 80s, when the edgier period, Batman creeps older and older and older, right?
Yes, he creeps older and older and older. So I would say Batman the Animated Series, he reads very much early 30s. So it's only 10 years. So you have stuff like when Barbara Gordon first appears in Batman the Animated Series, Batman goes, "Oh, Barbara, you've grown. You're not a child anymore." And like he does say that in Heart of Steel Part 1. And then in the last episode of Batman the Animated Series, Batgirl Returns, Batgirl has a dream where she beats up all Batman's villains and then they make out. So Bruce Timm stuff has always implied that Batman and Batgirl should get together. And of course, in Batman Beyond, they get together off panel. But he very much is her superior. At the very least, he's her boss. And she is the same age group as his adopted son, who she dated.
And also, this sex scene is happening as he's being a fucking asshole to her. He's fired her. She's traumatized. They're on top of a building. Nothing makes sense. Nothing.
Here's an additional wrinkle. After this scene, I think, or one of the scenes, Barbara Gordon says, "Stupid Barbara Kathleen Gordon."
Barbara Kathleen Gordon. What the hell have you done?
So fun fact, Kathleen is not Barbara Gordon's middle name in the comics.
Oh.
Kathleen is the full name of Kathy Kane, the original Batwoman, who only became Batwoman because she was in love with Batman, and she only would fight as Batwoman to get into Batman's pants. So some people are theorizing that they're actually merging Batgirl's characterization with the original Batwoman's characterization.
But that's not in the movie, so it doesn't
No, it's not
So
in
it
the movie.
doesn't
It's just a
matter,
funny. I don't know, guys. It's not a good movie. It's a short movie and a bad movie. So I'm just doing other things.
We got to grasp at straws in order to make sense out of any of this one shot movie that has nothing to do with the greater animated continuity.
The problem is not the fucking continuity or what it's just like what we see in this movie that leads to this moment makes no sense. Like when she starts getting wet and those puppy dog eyes, you're just like, what? Like what? You know,
Yeah.
like I don't care who has sex with who or who gets shot with what. Like these are fake lines. You know, like I don't
These
give
are
a shit. But you have
drawings.
to. These are drawings, but you have to justify it to me. And to me, it's not a thing of like, oh, Batman and Batgirl, they're like my family. I don't care. You know, like.
But they're like my Bat family. So she had sex with Batman in front of a gargoyle. What happens next, boys?
Does Paris France show up again?
Yeah, they haven't caught him yet.
Yes, that's right.
She nearly beats him to death because Batman won't quantify the relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course the next morning she's going like, Barbara, what did you do? Like she's a sorority girl after a party. Like it's just really funny to me that this whole movie was like, we need to give women their fair representation. And the fair representation is like the most offensive portrayal of a woman.
Yeah, it's all dictated on relationships with guys.
And it's all her fault, and she's irrational, and like she has a
but
gay
it's
best
worse
friend.
because the guy is offensive and he jokes about her periods and stuff.
Must be that time of the month.
She punches Paris real hard and
Almost kills him because he ruined everything by making her have sex with Batman.
You ruined everything!
This is her looking into the abyss. Is this moment because she had sex with Batman and a guy called her some nasty names? She's pushed to this limit? What the fuck are you doing?
Here's
what
what's
are you
happening.
doing, this character?
She's telling this guy, you were sexist to me, which made Batman hate me, which made me fuck him, which makes you the Joker. And I'm like, that made no sense.
It's so bad on its own, but it makes Barbara look so much worse.
Just imagine Batman beating up the Joker, being like, you made me have sex with my dad, you monster.
Right, exactly.
Robin's just wailing on like the Riddler. You're stupid, hospitals made me hard at the wrong
It's
time.
literally become the cum town, like, Batman, by the time you fuck me in the ass, Robin will be dead.
How dare you?
No, Robin, no.
They have a lot of angst, and I guess this somehow convinces her, like, I need to quit.
Yeah, she needs to quit because Batman, you're right. Because you said that you don't want me to look into the abyss and not come back. And I looked into the abyss.
Of me having sex with you, the abyss of your bat hole. If you had reversed the roles and it was like Batwoman and Batboy, like, she would look like an awful person. Like, it's so weird. And it doesn't imply that she did it for the heroics at all. Like, she doesn't care about saving people. It's just about spending time with Batman and punching people. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a disservice that, like, it's worse than anything Alan Moore did.
Yeah, because now she's like completely tied at the hip. Because even at the beginning, they're like, Batgirl is kind of on her own, but she works with Batman sometimes.
Yeah.
And here it's just like, oh, actually, that's not the case because she's so horny for Batman, and she looks at him so much that if he just ghosts her after they have sex, that is enough for her to stop being Batgirl.
Yeah, listen, none of us in this podcast are Casanovas. We have maybe talked to 3 women in our lives. This is not how women act, from what I've seen. She's like out of an insane asylum, this woman.
Out of an insane asylum, you know who else lives in an asylum?
Bad girl.
Yes, because Batman's like, Batgirl, talking to you reminds me of my weird dynamic with
Reminds me of somebody else I had sex with.
You know what, Batgirl? All of this was pretty funny, wasn't it? It was a funny thing that happened to us.
Yes.
Yeah, so the rest of the movie is just the Killing Joke. Like,
we get this fade to black. We get this very hard demarcation between prologue, 30-minute prologue, and then the real story. But the meddling has not ended yet. Batman is looking at Joker's stuff.
Well, he meets up with Harvey Bullock in a shed, in a scene that is tacked onto the beginning to rationalize as to why Batman would be at Arkham Asylum.
to visit the Joker, because in the book, he literally just goes because
he feels like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, this is the first time that the Joker has been mentioned in this Joker-centric movie.
we're trying to duplicate the feeling of the podcast. We spent 30 minutes talking about Batgirl and our relationship problems, and now we're going to get back to the comic book.
Yeah.
That weird time that I had sex with my dad, and now I'm the Joker.
And the narration stops. I really want to point this out. You have to love the narration is over. It's not coming back.
With the hard break, and I think it's in the build up to the attack. I made a note of like the final insult is the scene of her jogging.
Oh yeah, that's also not in the book. And it's just a guy like insulting her, but also the camera is like lingering on her animated back.
The camera is going up and down her backside.
You want to hear an interesting comic book story related to this? In like 2007-ish, there was this one issue comic where Zatanna and Wonder Woman took Barbara Gordon out dancing because Zatanna said she had a dream about Barbara. And she's like, you got to learn to loosen up, have fun, enjoy every moment. Why don't you go dance, Barbara? And then Barbara leaves and goes home. She's like, I got to go visit my dad tonight. And she puts on the yellow shirt. And then Zatanna's like, I saw it. She's going to get shot in the spine tonight. I really wanted her to dance one last time. What that and this scene both have in common is the idea. It's like, oh man, remember when Barbara Gordon had legs?
What do women like? Women like having legs.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable in any context. Just these shots are the kinds of things that are a dead giveaway of what kind of movie this is. But when you know what's coming, it's pretty hard to take.
Oh, we've already seen who's coming. Batman and Batgirl.
and the Joker.
And that gargoyle.
And me.
Oh no.
Right now.
Is this supposed to be voyeuristic and like hinting at the Joker is coming? Or
Well, no, I think it's because now this movie is about violence against women. It's about how verbal violence, it's about violence in the workplace, it's about emotional violence.
It's mostly about violence against dads.
Oh, we haven't talked about this. Tara Strong plays Batgirl, right?
Yes.
She doesn't sound that similar to the new Batman adventures.
No, because in the new Batman adventure, she's not going, it was just sex.
It was just sex, for God's sake.
Can I make a wacky suggestion that just occurred to me? So you know how in the first 30 minutes of the movie, Barbara Gordon spends a lot of her time talking to a man about her issues of a man? Here's a thought. I don't know if it would make the movie better, but it would make it flow better. What if that man she was talking to in the first 30 minutes was her dad, Commissioner Gordon?
Oh my God.
That would make it a little neater, but it would be pretty fucking
weird.
It'd still be weird, but like...
I'm kind of hot for this elder man. What do you think,
Barbara,
Dad?
is it one of my friends? Actually, it is Dad.
It's your best friend.
And he went down on me and I came so hard. Oh, sorry, Dad, gotta go.
And I thought the commissioner dating scene was hard.
Then I'm going to visit our friend, the Joker clock. Well, first we get a fake Joker, but then we get the real guy. It's about 33 minutes. Not the latest we've seen, but this movie is called The Killing Joke.
In a 76-minute movie where 6 of those minutes are credits, it's pretty freaking late.
And it's not like there's any reference or build up to him, like, at all.
The only reference you get is Batman going like, Paris, France reminds me of the Joker for some reason.
His name is Paris. He's a nasty combination of narcissist and sociopath. He'll have you smiling right up to the moment he cuts your throat. I haven't had to deal with his type of crazy in a while.
And you're like, why?
Well, again, it's like, what are the choices you could make? Like, all right, here's a hot take. Here's something that could have been interesting. If you're just not married, okay, we all agree. Clearly, you have to go from Barbara Gordon getting shot to the end of The Killing Joke. That has to be one bad day. But if you just move up the Joker breaking out of prison and you give him a little bit of a crime spree and you make Paris France like his top lieutenant or something who's messing with Batgirl, or like you have Harley Quinn messing with Batgirl, like you could have had the Joker more evenly distributed throughout the movie. It didn't have to just be this abrupt break.
Well, yeah, it definitely did not have to be the way it is. We're agreeing with you on that. So the Joker is already out, and he is shopping for amusement parks. And, I made a couple of, this is the most anime Joker we've gotten up to this point.
What? Did you see Return of the Joker?
No, this is more anime than that.
What are you talking about? How is this more anime?
This is kawaii.
That's it. I'm getting Landon on the phone. Landon, they said Killing Joker.
Well, this movie was entirely outsourced to Japan.
Wait. You're saying this movie is an AI?
Well, Paul, most of these animated DC movies were outsourced to Japanese studios. Japanese or Korean studios.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's more so than ever because it was not a few studios, it was one studio, and because the designs are more detailed, then they become more lines, more anime.
Didn't Miyazaki, didn't his studios do some episodes of Batman the Animated Series?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say that they made this.
Studio Ghibli. This is a Studio Ghibli movie.
Hayao Miyazaki actually came out of retirement after The Wind Rises to make this really quickly as a favor, but he was so embarrassed by it, him and Alan Moore both asked for their names to be taken off the movie.
He doesn't want anyone knowing that he directed the scene where Batgirl fucks Batman.
Yeah, he actually did it personally.
Now I'm just imagining a scene of a kingdom of tears and madness of a beautiful music while Miyazaki draws Paris France.
This is my most beautiful character. I call him Lupin the Fifth. Paris France. He's like the Joker, but he's horny.
Yeah, I think he reminds me he's a little Death Note-y, and I also made a note. He reminds me of the Fred Astaire stop motion puppet from Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Which, coincidentally, was animated in Japan.
There is a resemblance. There is a vague resemblance.
Putting aside the fact that Fred Astaire was not Japanese except for one unfortunate dance number in Ziegfeld Follies, I do think the Joker does kind of look like Fred Astaire and Brian Boland's artwork.
Okay, one final thought about this Joker. One thing they get right, he's got the white hat.
Yeah.
Wide hat. It could be bigger.
Is he wearing the same hat when he shoots Barbara Gordon, or does he have multiple hats?
I think he has the same hat from when he buys the amusement park and when he shoots
Okay.
Barbara Gordon.
So that's more important than the tuxedo is the hat.
Yeah. He gets like the straw hat in the musical
The straw
number.
hat that Paris Franz talked about.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, 1 point now about the performance. I do want to say this hot take. Part of why I'm not so down on this movie as other people, I think Mark Hamill gives a great performance in this movie.
I genuinely think he's the only one trying. Like, clearly.
Like, he
it's-
cuts the rasp out, he knocks it off, he's doing his classic Joker voice.
He is raspy, but it's
raspier than the 90s, but it's all right.
It's
you know.
reasonable level.
well, it's a more world-weary Joker. At least when he's putting on the rasp as the present-day Joker, it's like, this has been a Joker who's been around for a while.
Well, it's garish, ugly, and smells like piss.
And you know that it's a performance choice because when it goes back to the flashbacks, when he's younger Joker and he's not doing the accent, there isn't as much rasp. He's doing it more in like a combination of his voice and like a Brooklyn accent.
They said they might call me. I got nervous and blew a punchline.
Like it's if you made his Wolverine voice sound like the Joker voice.
If you made Wolverine the Joker, what are you saying?
Oh, and X-Men 2, the video game?
X-Men 2, the video game. And
Yeah, so the context here is that Mark Hamill played the Hugh Jackman Wolverine in a video game in like 2003.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
yes.
Ain't that a kick in the head?
I will say that I am a little bit iffy on his normal dude voice.
Well, that's what's interesting is it's like, oh, this is what the Joker was Imagine if he talked like that in Batman Mask of the Phantasm. And here's the guy who's our hitman. Guys, I'm the Joker hitman. Oh, I'm just so angry.
Actually, this is sort of relevant because in Mask of the Phantasm, we put forth the theory that the Joker transformation is basically fake. Like it's an act that he puts on to excuse his bad behavior. This is a different version of the character.
Well, no, because that's the whole thing is Alan Moore, well, we're at this point of the story, I think is relevant. So the Red Hood story that's adapted here is from the 1950s. It's from a Bill Finger story where Batman is lecturing a class of children about, oh, there was this guy early in my career named the Red Hood. He effing sucked. I didn't like him. He fell into a vat of chemicals and I never figured out who he was. And then the Red Hood popped up and then the kids are like, hey, if you notice how he does this, this, and this, that's the Joker. And he took his hood off and the Joker was like, you're right. It was me the whole time. I was the Red Hood and then my face got messed up. So now I became the Joker, but I'm the same guy and I have the same personality. So Alan Moore's idea was, what if, to humanize the Joker, what if he just had one bad day? Because in Alan Moore's mind, he thought there was a big change between the calm criminal mastermind that became the Red Hood and the psycho, insane guy in the 70s who was killing a bunch of people and trying to copyright fish. So he tried to explain the shift. He went meta with it by saying that the Joker was a down-and-out comedian, couldn't get a gig, had a pregnant wife and no money. He's just a put-upon guy.
Yeah. So I think what we get in this is laying out something that is not what we might have inferred from the earlier one.
Yeah.
No, what we're getting this is it's a great story, but it's a bad omen for future Joker iterations to come.
It unfortunately starts the trend of treating the Joker as a sympathetic human being, which Alan Moore and many other people are like, you should never do this under any circumstances.
Come on, Troy. He's pretty simple. I relate to him.
Well, here's the thing. In the book, The Killing Joke, he's giving this monologue about having the one bad day, and it ends at the end of this monologue. He's in a hall of mirrors, and it's a Citizen Kane moment where he's pouring out his soul to Batman, and all that's left is his reflections, and he's looking at that. And then you get that close-up shot where he's just like, why don't you, why aren't you laughing? And then Batman breaks through the mirrors and then clearly states, are you sure it's not just you?
Yeah. And we'll get to that point in the movie. The other thing I guess we'll point out while we're now, like that Jake brings up the good point, is like Alan Moore is a writer who writes things and he'll put stuff in there that the ending is supposed to impact how you interpret those things, and people don't do it. I call it the Rorschach effect, because he wrote Watchmen, where Rorschach goes on this whole journey and he says this. He's like, everyone loves Rorschach because he's sad and poor. And I'm like, yes, but you're not supposed to love Rorschach. But now everyone just feels bad for the Joker because I pointed out, oh, he had it rough. And that's not the takeaway you're supposed to be taking away from this story. I just think the problem is a lot of people who read comics are poor white guys with problems. So they see a poor white guy with a problem and they're like, I could be the Joker.
Well, look, we've encountered this throughout. I mean, the Joker, that's part of what makes him so dangerous and so alluring, as we all know, as fans and acolytes of his work, that even in, I mean, that's the thing, Dark Knight or what have you, it's like
Party Man.
If you
himself, A1
give him some complexity, if you give him some appeal, trying to make your movie a little more complex or multifaceted, then you're going to have people that are like, wow, he's so cool, That's the price.
I also think this is an interesting thing to point out as well, while we're talking about, again, who are you sympathetic with? Where does evil come from? Does it come from society? Does it come from somewhere else? Besides that one scene in the Batcave, there is no Bruce Wayne in either the comic book or the movie The Killing Joke. There is no consideration of Bruce Wayne's alter ego because it's pretty much a moral puzzle. So it's interesting that in a movie and a story that's all about the nature of evil, we have completely sidestepped the class politics that normally pop up in Batman Joker stories, as we've noticed in the last couple ones, where class is very much a factor in all of the previous takes on Batman, even Batman 66.
But yes, I think this gets to my point is that, even in the comic, there's not a lot going on with, Batman, Bruce Wayne. And when you add the incoherent prologue, it's like, what is going on with this guy?
Whose movie is it? Is it Batman? Is it Batgirl? Is it Joke? I would argue the person who has the most fulfilling arc in the Killing Joke story is Commissioner Gordon, played here by Ray Wise. But the movie, when they announced the movie, I'm like, oh, they'll give both of the Gordons more stuff to do. And then they don't give him anything. And they have Ray Wise. It's his soul they're fighting over.
Yeah, no, it's just like, Barbara!
Are we at the scene where Batman is in the Batcave and he's looking at all the past stuff we've covered on this podcast? He has like the Joker dressed as a clown from the 60s show. He has the Joker selling Smilex. He has the Joker doing the Heath Ledger prison pose. He has the Joker with Harley Quinn. He has the death of Jason Todd, which is interesting because, as you guys may be aware from a couple episodes ago, A Death in the Family, Joker killed Robin. In the comics, this happened after The Killing Joke. And actually, he was on the run because Batman was so mad at him for what he did in The Killing Joke. That's why A Death in the Family happens in the comics. But now in the movie, you get this weird thing where he doesn't care about Batgirl because she had sex with him or something. And Robin is dead, murdered by the Joker at least 3 years earlier. So why is he still like, hey, Joker, how are we going to end this? When he blew up Robin.
He's like, I don't want to kill you, but you're going to do something really bad. And also, like, the context of him saying that is just that nothing that bad, or like as bad as what happens in The Killing Joke, has happened yet in the rest of Batman's history. Yeah, that is a good point. Even though it's kind of a throwaway Easter egg in the background, that Easter egg does beg that question.
No, it's true.
Like,
he's literally seeing pictures of Joker doing 9/11, and then he's like, I can reach this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, I feel the 1-2 punch of The Killing Joke and Death in the Family, while it really made the Joker a great villain, I think that's where the line becomes, why have you not killed the Joker? Because he crippled Barbara Gordon and blew up your son. Like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, that does kind of mess with it because, I mean, yeah, you could definitely argue that killing Robin is worse than, putting Barbara in a wheelchair. So this is not really an escalation, actually. in a sense.
This is just Tuesday for Batman.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's getting killed.
Everybody's murdered. But that's why Return of the Joker, I think, is so effective, because once Joker crosses the line, that's the last time he ever saw him. I'll concede that it is a little weird for the Joker to just be some guy running around Gotham when it's like, dude, he took out your kids, one of whom you had sex with. Like, come on. That's crazy.
But which one? Find out
Oh, no.
on the same bad time, same bad channel. Okay, but you'll notice that whenever it cuts to a flashback, it just kind of does a generic fade.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like the transitions in the comic book are so beautiful.
Yeah, the transitions are very precise, because you go from like the creepy laugh that the Joker's wife is having, and then it turns into a laughing clown, a fat laughing clown, going from like that to that, and it's these connections and like him looking at things, and those are triggering those memories.
Yeah.
And here it's just, oh, now it's time. It's like all of the intent is gone here.
It's like he sees a poster of a fat lady and it reminds him of his pregnant wife.
That was the original reason why Alan Moore said he didn't want to see his stuff adapted, was because he writes his stuff for the medium. So he was doing things in comics that you couldn't really do in film.
You could do it better than this for sure.
Yeah, no, they still could have done better than that.
You can still like show an image and have it fade to a different image that,
Especially in animation,
Yeah.
like they could draw,
Yeah.
you know, these shots that layer over each other and have one melt into the other. That's relatively easy in animation, actually.
yeah, they were literally doing this shit in the original in Batman the Animated Series, and they just don't do it here for some reason.
You don't know if it's because of budgetary restrictions. Like, we're not going to do a process. We're not going to put that Final Cut effect in or something. Or if it's just they didn't care. They had a deadline. They're like, just.
But this is all storyboarded, so you could easily go like, okay, here's the shot from the comic. We want it to transition to this shot so that the images link together.
If they're going to be as anally, you know, faithful as they are trying to be, that would make sense.
It's been storyboarded since 1988.
No, I mean, that's the dirty secret of most Alan Moore adaptations. Is even though he writes them for the comics medium, his artists and the way he writes, the panels look more cinematic and involve more varied cinematic composition in the actual movie.
He's using montage in comic book form. He's thinking very, very cinematically.
Yeah, to my question, the flashback structure is basically the same as in the book, right?
But, no, here on out, it's pretty much just the Killing Joke, except, I mean, it looks like ass, but, you know.
It's basically Xerox straight from the comic.
Yeah, the sepia flashback scenes are a fucking eyesore. Like, I know that
Yeah,
it's probably
it
a
looks
budget
weird
thing, but it's...
in movement. And again, the original color scheme of the comic had more contrast, and it was more interesting to look at.
And it's not like that's like something you can't do in animation. Fucking look at any Don Bluth movie or, you know, like anything where...
Yeah, there's no limit on the coloring.
You know, where you can heighten an emotion by like, you know, everything just shifts to orange, you know?
You know who would have made a great The Killing Joke?
Who?
Don Bluth. Imagine
Oh,
Don
boy.
Bluth's The Killing Joke.
It would be so bouncy.
I would have been scarred all over again.
It would be nightmarish, that's for sure, yeah.
I do want to point this out. Bernard is like, what was having sex with Batman like? Batgirl's like, amazing. It was like fireworks.
Like fireworks.
Joker's wife, Jenny, says, no, I love you because you're funny and you're great in the sack.
You're good in the sack.
So thanks to this movie, we canonically know that both Batman and the Joker are good at sex.
Which is why I say that the ending is not Batman killing the Joker, is finally realizing that they need to fuck to create the ultimate sex
Clearly,
experience.
this version, that's the reading. I don't even know.
I mean, any tension between two characters, that's bound to happen.
I mean, just look what happened to Batman and Batgirl.
Yeah, pretty much.
How do you feel about the flashback suggesting that the Joker was not funny before the accident. Do we think he was just bombing and he had about an average hit ratio as a stand-up comedian?
Oh no, that I love, because
that he just was not funny before he became the Joker.
I mean, from the people I know, after they have a psychotic breakdown, they become like substantially funnier, you know, like in real life. So that's realistic.
Yeah, it's more of a, to deal with the devil, to become a great comedian, which is what he is.
Well, he's released from all of his insecurities, and he can just be himself and do daring humor, like shooting a woman in the spine.
Yeah, you know what would suck is if he became the Joker and he was still shitty and unfunny and pathetic. I hope they never make a movie like that.
Oh yeah,
I hope they never make 2 to 3 movies like that. Anyway,
one part that fucking like drives me nuts in this movie is when like the motherfucker is being told that his wife and unborn child just died, and he's just like,
yes.
Aww.
I wanted to bring this up because I don't know. I'm like, is it Mark Hamill not getting there, or is it the animation making him not expressive? Because he just kind of seems like, oh, I stepped on a piece of gum.
Jeannie's dead.
Is that they really didn't fucking put a scene in there where he's just like, oh my god, you know?
well,
like,
again, in the comics, the artwork is so expressive that it sells it more.
Yeah, and the animation's not really doing that, and they also make the conscious choice in the book. We hear what the cop has to say to the Joker, and we hear the conversation. In the movie, they make it a suspense scene.
Yeah, like he's going to be arrested.
Well, it's not that he's just going to be arrested. Is he going to rat on them or something?
Yeah.
Like, this is the turning point for the Joker, even more than the Bat of Acid. And it's just like, if you replace what he says with I have diarrhea, the intonation makes complete sense, right? Like, oh man, the cops told me I have diarrhea and I can't do it now. You know, like,
I mean, maybe Mark Hamill's not selling it, though. I love you, Mark. But I really think the animation is to blame here, because I also think that's why people think Kevin Conroy, part of why they think he gives a bad performance in this movie, is because his Batman never moves his face. So he's giving all these line readings and just nothing's happening on screen. And even though it's a cartoon, we're like, oh man, he's giving me nothing.
well, yes, the animation, but also like you need to have a beat that you actually write there with your fucking fingers of like, and then the Joker looks horrified beyond belief.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the comic panel right now. I mean, what Alan Moore does, or in Boland, you know,
Brian Boland.
Yeah.
Brian Boland.
You're looking at it legally, right?
Very legally.
Yes.
I'm paying by the minute to look at these images.
Oh, he's just looking at porn.
Yeah.
Honey, what's the subscription to DC Universe Infinite? You sick
like,
pervert.
I'm looking at the panel right now. The Joker has a huge cock.
Yeah, you pervert. Anyway, speak.
Anyway, what they decided to do is play the beat all in long shots. I mean, you don't really get like an outpouring of emotion. He's just kind of left, you know, in the distance.
Yeah.
And then he's almost like a kid that like can't even process it in this one image of the guys being like, no, you still got to do the job. And he's like, oh, but you don't understand. I've the genie, you know.
Yeah, his wife died and his unborn child died. So instead of being a criminal mastermind, this Joker is just a dupe. I guess if we're talking about the scene now, I don't get the Red Hood gang's plan. So their plan is apparently put a guy in a Red Hood thing. Maybe he knows the joint a little more than they do. But the idea is that if there is security, even though they're running around with fully loaded firearms, shooting at the police, they will loudly yell, "We're not the guys you want. You want the guy in the Red Hood. But you morons, you're robbing the bank or the plant, and you're shooting at the police. They're still going to go after you."
Clearly what this establishes is that the RICO and conspiracy stuff did not exist just a few years earlier, because that's why Gordon doesn't know about it in The Dark Knight. You can literally be escorting the criminal that's doing stuff, but as long as he has a mask on, and you can just be yourself and be next to him, but you're not guilty of the same crime.
Like they're just going to be found innocent, even though they are in the factory shooting at the police. Like,
no, they're just trespassing, but the Joker is doing the bad stuff. stuff.
What
right?
is your game plan here?
You know, another really great moment here is when Batman shows up. He's like, "Stop shooting, I'll take care of it." And they go like, "Hey, it's the guy that's a bat. We gotta listen to him." And then they just stand there.
Yeah, they stop shooting. But then we get a Joker falling in the acid, which has nothing to do with Batman throwing him in.
Which is what happened in the original Bill Finger storyline, but it was Tim Burton that's the first version where Batman is directly responsible for knocking him into the vat of acid, is the Tim Burton film.
But he tried to save him, but he had slippery gloves.
Yeah, that's sad. Rip. And God, that is such a great image when he becomes the Joker. Blood out of his eyes. Though you do run into the same issue as a certain Todd Phillips Joker, where how does this guy become the criminal mastermind that he is in the present? Like, he's just a failed stand-up comedian who tripped on his cape. How is he like, you know what I'm going to do? Poison the water supply or copyright fish?
Well, here's the thing. It's multiple choice.
Well, that's one thing, is like, we're not sure if this is what happened, which is great. And the other thing is that the Joker movie, not this Joker movie, but the live action one, it shows you the progression of the Joker as a criminal mastermind, which is completely implausible to the point that we never see him become a criminal mastermind. He just has a gun, right? In this one, it does the very smart choice of just like, he turned into the Joker. How he turned into a criminal mastermind, that is a mystery. No, we'll skip over that.
Well, a couple things that I think is interesting about that information. First off, Alan Moore has said that in his mind, he was just doing the 50s origin, but he knew he was changing it slightly. So to preserve the continuity, he came up with the multiple choice pass line just to cover his ass. But in his mind, this is what, like, always was what happened to the Joker. So again, it's interesting because that line is so famous. And now the idea is that the Joker has some mysterious past. When in Alan Moore's mind and Bill Finger's mind, no, there was always a very set origin for him. The other thing I think is interesting you say, Jan, is that the Joker's not a criminal mastermind. He just has a gun, which brings me to my next point about the Joker's present day plan, is that this is like the most grounded Batman Joker movie ever made. Everything the Joker does here follows the laws of physics, and he takes the proper amount of time to set. Like, that's what's so scary about the Killing Joke, is everything he does is sadly doable.
Well, it's not, holding the city ransom. It is buying an amusement park, shooting the commissioner's daughter, taking pictures of her naked, and then having him stripped down and seeing pictures of her with the intent of driving him insane to prove a point.
And writing a shitty song.
That's always guaranteed to make me smile.
Yeah, everything he does is terrifyingly plausible.
But I think to your point, Jan and Troy, the thing is of being like, well, all this bad stuff happening to this guy, well, that doesn't explain how he becomes the Joker. But that's kind of the thing, right? Is that like all this stuff can happen to a person, but that there must be some X factor because it didn't happen to Gordon or Batman or whoever, right?
And that's why I guess why Alan Moore is upset with this movie. Well, not the movie, though probably the movie. With the book is it's like, what's the X factor? But it is kind of an easy puzzle to solve, right? It's like, I had one bad day and I went crazy. And then Batman and Commissioner Gordon just go, we had bad days. We didn't go crazy.
Well, Batman is arguably as psychotic as the Joker, but he's still able to have some self-awareness to make sure that he fights criminals.
Well, he doesn't go around murdering people.
This is exactly the ending that the Dark Knight is aping off, right? Where it's just like, you just wanted to prove that the world is as ugly as you.
I'm saying, yeah. It's the thing that this book kind of crystallizes, right?
Yeah, it crystallizes it. Though I think what's interesting is that Batman's really only explored in terms of his relationship to the Joker. Again, the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne never acknowledged, like, once in this iconic Batman story. Like,
no, because the Batman character is relatively thin in this story.
Yes, I would agree.
Because the core of this is pretty simple, and
it's Batgirl. She's the core.
Well, even in the original book, Batgirl is also more. It's just a Joker, really.
Okay, so Batgirl gets shot.
We have the most brutal scene in Joker history where he shoots Barbara Gordon. She's now a coffee table edition. Yep. And it's just, it's horrifying. Like, even more than, I would argue, than blowing up Robin. It's just done so realistically that it's like, oh, God.
It's not more horrifying than anything we saw those first 30 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
Wait, you're treating her like she's a cartoon, you know?
Yeah, but like, it's still like a woman getting shot in the
No, it's not. It's a cartoon.
And then getting stripped, and he's like implied, like he's trying to make it look like he like sexually assaulted her, guys. I don't know. I think
you could argue that the idea of what's happening is not as dark as what happens to Robin in the film that we covered a couple of weeks ago. But what makes it the edgelord 80s graphic scarring nightmare thing is like the imagery, right?
Yes.
And the film does not bring it quite to the level of the comic because of the colors and the details.
I do think that this is the one scene where they're actually taking care in adapting the scene, because they have the slow-mo. When she's shot, it's horrifying. They have the reaction of her looking on the ground, and the performance of the drawing is awful to look at because she's like, her eyes are like all wide and, you know, like just like staring off into the abyss. They got the good shadows on the Joker, even if the animation's a bit limited. It still looks good. So this scene is like one of the gems in this movie. I will actually say the effort is there.
Yes, but then you realize they just made the movie to make this scene. And you're like, oh, it's so lovingly detailed.
Yeah, I mean, again, the thing that if you have a problem with it, it's this.
Yeah.
And this is the only reason they're doing it, is to put it on screen in the year of our Lord 2016.
What always strikes me as kind of weird, I mean, they don't explicitly bring it up in either the comic or the book, but yeah, it is kind of weird to have something like this happen to a friend of Superman and Wonder Woman. Like, in a world where you're going all these fantastic adventures written for children, it is kind of weird to have the Joker just shoot a woman exactly in the part of her chest where, like, he knows he'll paralyze her for life and then strip her clothes off and take photographs of her body. Like, Alan Moore is correct. If you're thinking about this objectively, it's probably a little much.
Yeah, at the time, it's just, what is the most horrible thing that the Joker can do that can plausibly turn anyone insane?
Yeah, I guess it was the most visceral thing that Alan Moore could think of, because on paper, again, objectively, it's not worse than just killing somebody. But the difference is the execution, right? The way it looks.
And so the Joker is able to get away. Batman's not there to get in time. And so he finds Barbara in the hospital, and she's just talking about her dad. And
he's up to something big. He said he's going to be part of the show.
Yeah, top of the bill.
And Gordon is stripped naked. He's put on a carny ride. We get some more fun dialogue with the Joker.
But wait, this is like part of what messed me up as a kid was in the comic. Like, you saw their private parts in the comic. You see the private parts of the Gordons, and it's like, oh, wow, they're really going there. And a comic they included in a guide for children. And then in the movie, they don't. The Joker is just, his way of taking him to the insane is just to make him go on a crazy ride where he makes him dress as a judge.
Which is not in the book.
Yeah, that was sort of an interesting idea. I mean...
Well, they did it better in the trial episode of Batman the Animated Series, which I think distracts me during that scene. Like the idea that the Batman's a criminal. Why don't you punish a criminal? Oh, Batman, you help him. I'm just like, is that really what the Joker's mad about here? I don't know. And again, all the sideshow people who work for the Joker, they all like hate Batman for some reason, and I'm like,
yeah, they're like, his brutality against criminals is bad. We love the Joker because the Joker's against that, who brutalizes an innocent woman and is torturing the police commissioner.
Okay, relevant to this, the movie's basically rated R just for violence, right? Or I guess like sexual themes, adult themes.
Well, it's funny. I think Bruce Timm straight up said if they really wanted to, they could have gotten a PG-13 rating with the movie pretty
Well,
much
if
as
you
is.
compare this to The Dark Knight Returns Part 2, which is, I argue, is significantly more violent than this movie.
I would argue that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why this got an R, to be honest.
This movie is purely R because, it's because they willed it into existence because they wanted this to be
R-rated.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing they really go above and beyond with the detail is like the mob guys in the beginning getting shot in the head and like the more realistic blood spraying and again, very anime.
mean, the comic would definitely be R-rated because, as I said, when they show the pictures of Barbara Gordon, they are it's very graphic. But again, the movie does not go as far as the comic because of its limited animation and because while you can show people getting violently shot and blood going everywhere, you can't show female nipples or a guy's dingling. So
or Commissioner Gordon's bare ass.
Yeah, so you have Austin Powers' scenery sensory. And of course, while he's looking at all the pictures, Mark Hamill, who is still killing it with all his line delivery, he gets to get a little loony with it.
He goes loony, which is straight up adapted from the book. The words are put to music for the first time ever, and we get to hear the singing style of Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Which is pretty good. This is the part of the movie where I think everything actually clicks the most. Even though the pictures aren't as disturbing as in the graphic novel, I think Mark Hamill is selling it, and I think they're doing interesting choreography in this sequence. I sounded so much like Landon when I talked about that for some reason. I don't know why. But
I think that Ray Wise's performance as Commissioner Gordon is a little lacking.
What does he have to work with? He has nothing to work with besides saying, Barbara! Barbara!
Yeah, that's the only thing. It's just he's going like, Barbara? Barbara? Barbara! And
but that's all it is in the comic. Like
it is, but there isn't really that like sickening, like horror. Like the one part where they actually do a good job with the horrified reaction of Gordon is when he gets off the right and he's in that catatonic state.
Yeah.
That's fine. But then when he starts talking again, it's a little hammy. It's a little too theatrical and not in a way where it's like, high emotion theatrical. It's kind of just like, I want it done by the book. Did you hear me? By the book.
By the book.
Not the sound of a man that was nearly pushed to the point of insanity.
What was the voice you just did?
I want it done by the book.
Hey, everybody. Hey, man. Welcome to Commissioner Gordon's Playhouse.
Today's secret word is
Barbara! Barbara! Well, I don't get that, but to each their own. Should we talk about the scenes they actually did add to this part of the movie? The Batman hunting the Joker down, where he's just swearing to me and yelling at prostitutes.
That's the weirdest shit where it's just like, okay, we really need to make this adult. We have a brief panel in the book where he talks to prostitutes. Let's expand upon this and get into the Joker's sex life.
Where he apparently has sex with prostitutes?
You'd think the most important thing for him is to...
What?
Have a good time.
What is this ad? Absolutely nothing.
Well, most people would say the only reason why it's there is to somewhat imply that he may have sexually assaulted Barbara Gordon, which Alan Moore has said he doesn't. He's just trying to make it look like he did. But with Batman having sex with her and the prostitute saying that to him, it feels like the movie's trying to lean more towards that, and it's just weird.
It feels like the thing of a teenager going like,
yeah,
well, this is adult. Because these characters, they have sex.
Well, to me, it just feels like they're padding it out,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when Jared Leto tells Batman that he's gonna give him a reach around.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't like to think about the Joker like fucking.
Yes, like no one actually wants to see the Joker have sex until Todd Phillips' Joker Folie à Deux, which will feature full musical orchestration.
Yes.
Hell yes.
There we go.
But I think part of it is the joy he derives is the humor, right? And that's what he's about, right? Or his philosophy, right?
Are you talking about Batman or the Joker?
I'm talking about the Joker.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Batman's in it for the laughs, yeah. But it's like, well, yeah, it's like if the Joker's he's either having a goof or he's trying to prove something. But if he's getting off, that's not really part of the concept, is it? That's my point.
Well, it's funny we say this because this argues the question, does the Tim Burton Joker count as a horny Joker? Because like halfway through the movie,
that's why
he
has to evolve into incel, like we discussed.
Yeah, because he's a dog chasing cars. He doesn't know what to do when he catches it.
Man, if a girl ever agrees to going on a date with me, I'll be in the exact same conversation. Anyway,
Okay, so he finds the Joker. Well, first he finds Gordon, and he's like, oh my god, you're gonna be so twisted.
Do they even attempt to do the Batmobile panel from the book, which is so cool?
Yeah, the Batmobile thing is like terrifying, just that drawing.
Yeah, that's like one of the best parts of the comic book, and they don't even
we
try
have like the high drama orange lights, and then the skinny sideshow guy going like, ah!
Oh, we should mention the introduction of Batman in this movie is him like purposefully hitting a criminal with his car.
Oh, right.
This is an edgy Batman. That does happen.
Oh, edgy Batman. So edgy Batman finds his naked father figure whose daughter he had sex with lying on the floor of the carnival.
And he thinks that he's broken, but no, he's still fine.
He's fine, everybody. All right, movie over.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's basically.
Oh, wait, no, I was joking. We have to talk about the carnival where the big changes the movie makes is all the freaks are like in on it, where in the book it's just the Joker yelling at Batman in a hall of mirrors. Now he has all these henchmen Batman's fighting.
Because you gotta pad it out if we can get a couple extra minutes out of it.
Yeah, and Batman kills one of them, which is weird.
How does he kill him again?
So Joker tries to drop him in a chute of spikes. Then the tiny Batman comes and tries to push him into the spikes. So Batman grabs him and throws him into the pit of spikes, and you hear like stab sound effect.
I'm sure it was all in non-vital areas.
I will say that when Batman looks at himself in the mirror and he's like tiny and ugly, that was very funny.
See, I thought when the Joker, because that's when the Joker says, I bet you had a bad day too. I thought he was going to show him as like a kid somehow, but no, he's just Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he gets really angry at the fact that he sees himself in the mirror and he's like fat and short. He was like, that's his worst nightmare.
Of course, in the movie, is his bad day like him having sex with Batgirl? Like, what are we referring to here?
I guess, I don't know.
And then the weirdest part is, again, in the book, because, again, this is the weird thing about Batman and the Joker. You could have the same versions of the characters and they could do like exploding whoopee cushions, or an incredibly grounded story where everything could plausibly happen. In the book, the Joker just tackles him in a hall of mirrors. In the movie, he has created an upside-down recreation of his apartment with his wife. I don't know what that's supposed to achieve, because Batman doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, but the audience does.
That's just for him.
And which is why I go back to when in the book, it is just the hall of mirrors and Joker's pontificating to Batman, and then that last part of the monologue, he's by himself, and then he looks pathetic as he's saying, why aren't you laughing?
Yeah, he looks genuinely sad.
It's like reality setting in that the Joker is full of shit. It's just like, have you ever thought that this is just you who reacted like this?
Yeah.
Because if you push someone to their limits, it's not going to turn them into the Joker. It's not even going to turn them into Batman.
No, but I think it's much more powerful that instead of him just getting like really angry at like, why aren't you crazy now, that he's like genuinely like crushed, you know?
Yeah.
Like soul crushing.
Because it just proves that he sucks.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a bad guy, and I think that is the moment that's really important for like later when Batman's like, okay, you did 9/11, but and you like shot my daughter, but that I had sex with, but I'm gonna rehabilitate you, and he's like, no, I can't. Like what you just proved to me is that is not possible, you know?
Yeah, I can't change. People are not capable of change. But speaking of historical tragedies, Joker makes a reference to World War III. He's like, think about how many times World War III was almost caused by a flock of geese.
I mean, do you ever think about how many times we've come close to World War III over a flock of geese on a computer screen?
And I'm like, what a dated reference. You're in the 80s, am I right? So then I'm rereading the comic, and he's like, after he says that in the comic, he's like, World War I was over the position of telegraph poles, Batman. telegraph poles. And they cut that line. And I'm like, why? I would have loved to have seen Mark Hamill yell about telegraph poles.
But with World War II, it's like, and World War II was, well, no, that was actually fucked up.
And Batman, the Franco-Prussian War was about the consolidation of the German Confederation into a larger continental power that threatened Napoleon's heir. Batman!
So they finally fall out of the building, and Joker's about to shoot him, but he's got a bang gun.
This is unironically my favorite part of the movie is when the bang gun comes out and the Joker just goes, God damn it. It's just like that God damn it.
God damn it.
Is like the most real like sounding thing in this movie by far. It's like
I love that. And I think it's such a great turn because, as I said before, this is such a horrifyingly grounded, low effort Joker plot, putting aside, give or take, a throne made out of dead babies at one point. Very low effort Joker.
I wouldn't
plot.
say low effort. He's trying to make a point, but it's not as grand.
Yeah, he's trying to make a point, but it's very doable.
Yeah.
Please don't quote me saying that. But like, it's not a giant typewriter. So having him pull out a bang gun at the end reminds you, oh my God, he's the comic book Joker.
Right.
And then he gives his famous joke.
The flashlight joke?
Yeah, the flashlight joke, which is a perfect kind of like a poetic encapsulation of what we just saw in joke form.
And they're just talking like two guys, which is so weird.
No, Mark Hamill delivers it really well. And then and the movie ends. And you're just like,
we must get into the controversy.
He doesn't die.
Yes.
So here's the thing. In the book, it's them laughing as police sirens are coming in, and both of them have word balloons that show that they are laughing, and eventually it's just ha ha ha's all over the page, mixed in with siren noises.
As it zooms down to a puddle.
And the imagery is very, very loud, and you're just like, oh my God, this big operatic finish, and then we cut to a puddle. Here, it's both of them laughing until it's just Batman laughing, and we cut down to the puddle, and it's subdued in a way.
And when we last see them, Batman has his hands around the Joker's shoulder.
Yeah.
So
there's a famous point by Grant Morrison, I believe. He said that Batman kills the Joker at the end of the book. And it's obviously, that's what it's about because it's called The Killing Joke, which I posit to Grant Morrison, writer of All-Star Superman. I'm like, you're out of your goddamn mind.
Where's the new X-Men, Grant Morrison? That wasn't the final crisis.
I'm like, you're out of your goddamn mind. It's bluntly saying that the same thing is going to happen again. We start off the comic book with drops of rain in a puddle. It ends with drops of rain in a puddle. It is just them laughing because they are going to keep doing this no matter what. No matter how bad the Joker gets, Batman is still going to try to save him. The Joker's going to go like, nah, and they're going to put him in Arkham Asylum for him to break out, and he could do the same shit over again. That's all it means.
Because the whole movie story is contemplating, should I kill the Joker? And at the end, the Joker's like, we're stuck in a prison cell. My joke is neither of us can really change our nature. And they have a sick laugh together. And again, well, first off, the fact that this was made in continuity, so the Joker came back, and that Alan Moore has said, no, they're just sharing a laugh over their preposterous situation.
Yeah, I never really interpreted it as like he's killing the Joker the first time I read it until like I went online and I was like, oh, like the fact that like only Batman is laughing at the end, I interpreted it as like, to me it was like, you know, Batman finally sees what the Joker finds funny. That's like a poetic, it doesn't literally mean that he strangled him.
Yeah, it's the killing joke because it kills with Batman.
Yeah, the Joker finally landed after being a failed stand-up comedian.
Yeah, that's the pay. No, that's the payoff.
No, because like what we saw in Batman Beyond, his ultimate goal is to make Batman laugh, and he finally did it.
Yeah, well, he's like, why aren't you laughing? I mean, that's, yeah.
But it's interesting I do want to briefly, because I did this before the podcast, but I kind of want this preserved because I think it's a very relevant point when discussing Joker media, which is, why do we need to see, one, the Joker killed, and two, why do we need to see the Joker win? So I think we kind of answered this question earlier, when the Joker is shooting Barbara Gordon through the spine and stripping her naked, or blowing up Robin, or mind-mending Robin, the idea that he's just gonna keep doing this is like morally reprehensible. So that's when you're like, no, we gotta, like, Batman. Like, no one was saying, why doesn't Batman just kill the Joker in like 1975? I think around this time is where it becomes like, why doesn't Batman kill the Joker? Because he's doing horrible, awful, heinous things and he can't be stopped. So I think that's an important thing that kind of shifts at this point. I also think because The Killing Joke spent so much time with the psychology of the Joker and how he's able to break people, there is a part of people that is like, oh, maybe the Joker made Batman kill him. Kind of like how in Mask of the Phantasm, oh, Andrea got pushed so far to this line. The Joker, she has to kill the Joker because she's already there. Or The Dark Knight, Batman killed Harvey Dent. Clearly the Joker pushed him to that. And it's so interesting how, because in all these works, we spend so much time with the Joker's philosophy, and the nature of the story is the Joker has to win up to a certain point. A lot of people are like, why doesn't the Joker's victory just carry through? Like, what he's saying is so broken yet so seductive that somehow we feel that philosophy has to get validated, even though almost all the people who write these stories say they are not validating the Joker's philosophy. So it's just an interesting quirk of the character, and it leads to stuff like the Todd Phillips film, where, no, the Joker wins. Like, because people need the Joker to win.
Yeah, because he's awesome.
Well, there you go. One more random tangent. Did you guys ever read the sequel to this comic called Three Jokers?
No.
I cannot believe I'm gonna say this. I fucking read that thing.
Wait, why did you read Three Jokers?
Because I love The Killing Joke, so I made the embarrassing decision to go to a dirty, disgusting comic book store and buy that thing and read it, and I took a cold shower after I did that.
How did it even work? So there's three Jokers and none of them know each other.
Okay, I'll be honest, I did not understand a single thing.
One of them is the leader. There's like
Criminal Joker, who was the original Joker from the 40s.
It's
right.
Old Joker, Scary Joker, and Toon Joker.
It's about us.
Yes, like us. Clown Joker was the guy from the 50s, but also maybe the guy who killed Jason Todd. And then Scary Joker is the Joker from The Killing Joke, whose wife is apparently still alive in Alaska with their child. And through the process of the story, the three Jokers are trying to turn Joe Chill into the next Joker so he can be Batman's archenemy. And then through the process of shenanigans, Clown Joker is killed by Jason Todd, and Criminal Joker is killed by Killing Joke Joker. So Killing Joke Joker is just the Joker by the end of it. So you're like, what was the point of any of this?
I honestly did not get it. I was like, this is some multiverse bullshit that I don't care.
It's not even multiverse. They're all in the same city.
It's always the thing of like, how do you justify Joker being the Barry prankster, the psychopath, and
the other one, whatever.
And the other one, yeah.
And it's just that writing assignment where someone's like got high in an office and was just like, what if we made that the story? How there's different Jokers. Just hear me out. Three Jokers.
That is also how they wrote the movie The Killing Joke.
Yes.
Well, hey, that's how they wrote the first 30 minutes of The Killing Joke. The rest was like copy, paste.
Except not as good.
Well, there you go. Those are basically my final thoughts.
But what do you think of J-Man?
So J-Man, it's complicated because Hamill's great. It's the Joker from The Killing Joke. It's fucking awesome, but they didn't fucking dirty him. So like, he comes in like 30 minutes in, he looks like shit. You know, he looks like Waluigi, and then like his stuff in the flashbacks is not great. the performance is like a little like trying to be like, oh, boy, mister, but it's like a 75-year-old man doing this Oliver Twist voice. I don't know.
When did Oliver Twist sound like he was like a Brooklynite?
Oh, they killed my wife, mister.
Unless you're doing Oliver and Company, where he's a cat.
Well, yes. That would be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. Damn, I might have to give this one an 8 out of 10.
Whoa!
It's the lowest Joker I've ever, and it's a shame because this interpretation of the Joker is great, but it was done fucking dirty by this movie, which, like I've said before, is fucking just dog shit. Like it's terrible. Like I don't know what to say. Like the first half is horrible. Right? It's like them trying to course correct that Barbara Gordon was just there as like a prop in the original comic book, which is a valid complaint. But just by writing an entire section that has nothing to do with anything and that makes Barbara Gordon seem like an insane person with no agency that defines everything by like people making fun of her period and her having the hots for people. It's just horrendous. The dialogue is horrible. It does not mesh well at all with the second part. And the second part is the Killing Joke. Yes, it's Mark Hamill. Yes, but to me, there is absolutely nothing interesting of just like, oh, let's animate the Killing Joke, but like a subpar animation. And it's a shot-for-shot remake, basically, but with worse shots even. I'm just like, I'm just gonna read the fucking comic book. And if I want to hear Mark Hamill as the Joker reading these lines, just do a fucking audiobook.
Or just listen to him when he's at a comic convention doing the monologues.
I don't need to see this shit. Listen, there are really funny parts in this movie, but they're very few and far between. They're sporadic. For most of this movie, I was ungodly bored and confused at all these decisions. Even the stuff that they added in the Killing Joke section of Batman going to prostitutes and being like, so how many times did the Joker come? I'm like, what is this? What am I watching right now? This is nonsense. So, 1 out of 10 for this movie. It makes me very, very angry because the Joker's my boy. This is the Killing Joke. And you know what? It's right. This is a joke to cinema.
And it killed me. So,
oh, that was the obvious joke. Fuck. Learned nothing.
So, Mr. J, Mark Hamill is, still killing it as the Joker. I think his performance is mostly pretty good. I think the weaknesses are specifically when he finds out that his wife is dead. It is the animation that makes him not as expressive and stuff, because he is doing a choice in how he reacts to the news, but we don't have any dramatic oomph because this is supposed to be operatic. His wife is dead, and I don't think he really does that. But he's not technically the Joker yet, so does that even count? Because most of the Joker stuff in this movie, I mean, he sings, he dances. It's mostly a voice and animation, and the animation is sometimes bad, but sometimes he looks pretty good. I think the Joker elements are the best parts of the movie, or like Joker is in the best scenes of the movie. So I'm probably going to give this one still an 8.5. I'll go a little bit higher than Jan. And those 2 points, I'm going to count the flashback stuff and just the overall look, because they're trying to do Brian Bolland in a simplified style, and it looks a little weird and is not as fluid as it could be. The movie is a giant stinky doo-doo. Yeah. The stuff with Barbara Gordon is flat out insulting. It is.
That's the word I was looking for. It's insulting to an entire gender.
To half the population.
It's somehow like the worst thing ever. It's just like, well, we're getting into dicey territory. How do we do it? Just make it's almost like a setup job to reclaim the Killing Joke as, a non-problematic text, maybe. And they're in their sick, twisted minds. Who the fuck knows it? And it's also completely disassociated from the Killing Joke story. And the Killing Joke story, even though it is adapted almost word for word with a few additions. It is not presented well. It is somehow less cinematic than a series of still pictures in a comic book, which is kind of insane. I'm almost convinced that this was a Gus Van Sant situation of adapting the Killing Joke so no one has to and making it the worst fucking thing ever.
I have never heard the Killing Joke described as a Gus Van Sant situation.
It's almost like an inside job of like, we can't make something better than the Killing Joke, so we're just not even going to attempt it, which is really painful because I'm like, this was shown in theaters. This is supposed to be like the animated direct-to-video movie that was so good that we're going to show it in theaters under Fathom Events, and it's going to be the 9th highest grossing R-rated animated film of all time. And if I was one of those people who saw it there, I would have been fucking pissed.
I invited you to go, and you didn't go, and I didn't go, ultimately.
Yeah. And we're all the better for it. I ended up watching this on a plane.
I watched this on either DC Universe or Paul's Netflix.
I can't even defend the movie as being a good adaptation of The Killing Joke because the Killing Joke aspect is still extremely underwhelming, and it's only really there because of the performances and you get to hear that Alan Moore dialogue, but the presentation is still completely fucked up. This is a fucked up, mangled mess, bisected piece of shit Frankenstein movie, and it's kind of a waste. Read the comic book. 1 out of 5. Fuck it.
All right, Spectre or this movie?
Spectre, I guess. Yes.
We found a movie that is worse than Spectre.
Yes,
wow.
boy.
We did it.
It's a close race, but I'll take the train sex over the rooftop sex.
Hell yeah. All right. In terms of this Joker, I think he's pretty cool. His design is pretty good, a little bit too gummy. I don't like the part where he looks at the carnival in awe and his eyes get all glassy-eyed as he spins in a circle.
Yeah,
Weird.
That is a
I
weird
hate
shot.
it. Get it out of my life. But otherwise, the Joker's pretty great. This is Mark Hamill's best performance as the Joker out since Justice League. I think hands down. I think it's great he finally got to do all the monologues. He's a little more conversational, a little more twisted, but you know, they're doing the Killing Joke. At least his part works for me. Him playing a normal guy. He doesn't sound like Mark Hamill. Doesn't sound like the Joker. He just sounds like a normal guy. He's doing great. I'm actually going to give this Joker a 9.5 out of 10. I'm just cutting the 0.5 out. Oh, he's a great singer. Only cutting the 0.5 out because, again, hate that glassy-eyed shot. I hate it so freaking much. We didn't talk about it, but I hate it. It's not even in the comic.
That's the true anime point of the movie.
That is the true anime point. So the movie, here's the thing. Every decision they made that is not from the comic is bad. The comic is flawed and everything they did here was bad. However, here's the thing, folks. Alan Moore and Bruce Timm on their worst days are more competent than like 90% of any storytellers you'll ever see. So even in this broken down husk of a story, I feel the animation is good enough that it doesn't distract from me. And I think the way they capture human psychology is still interesting enough that I don't hate this. No, did I want to see Batman and Batgirl have sex? No, I did not. Did they do anything to setting up Commissioner Gordon or Batman's roles in the movie, really? No, I did not. Did the post-credit sequence we didn't even talk about where she's just Oracle now and they do nothing to set it up? But here's the thing. From moment to moment, I am able to follow it. It still has some interesting moments. I think Mark Hamill is doing a fine job here. And Alan Moore and Bruce Timm working together, even if it's only for like 40 minutes of a 17-minute movie, I'm pretty much, I can't say this is the worst thing ever. So I'm actually giving this a 5 out of 10, 2.5 out of 5.
Whoa.
It's very middle of the road. Put a gun to my head and tell me, would you rather watch this instead of like Quantum of Solace or Die Another Day? I'd be like, yeah.
How dare you? I might understand what Quantum of Solace, but how dare you would Die Another Day?
I'll watch Quantum of Solace. I'm going to watch that horse race any day over there.
Die Another Day is not about people. This movie is still about people, even if it's broken.
No, it's not.
It's not about anything.
Just because they're badly written people doesn't mean they're not about people.
All right.
So there you go. I was short. This isn't a real movie, so it's fine.
Yeah, this the Joker is obviously the best thing about this by far, and it's like a 7 out of 10 at best. The movie is unnecessary. I'm going to venture to say that. You're not going to really top the book. Alan Moore is a great writer. I don't think this is his best work by a long shot. It is kind of funny that Alan Moore on what you might call a bad day and Frank Miller on what you'd call his best day ever are kind of in the same ballpark.
Aww.
Sorry, Frank.
I'd still say that Alan Moore is way better.
Alan Moore is better. But I like. Come on, Frank Miller. No one can write pulpy dialogue like him.
But yes, basically this film's it doesn't really add much. I don't know if I can say I'm glad to have seen this. I think basically what you should do, listeners, if you haven't seen the film, you should acquire it legally. Step 1. You should watch the sex scene and the musical number. And you really don't have to watch the rest. There's nothing to watch. There's this total void. I'll give it a 2.
Out of 10?
Yeah. Somewhere in that zone. Okay, now we're going to do a little speed round for you jokesters. Because apparently, according to Wikipedia, there are, up to the date of this recording in 2024, there are currently 55 released feature films in the DC Universe animated original movies.
James Gunn needs to stop this.
Make it stop.
And I'm sure a lot of them don't involve the Joker, but I'm just going to go through them anyway. And
if there's no Joker in them, we just say no Joker.
Yeah, so that's all you gotta do. Here we go.
Well, wait. We have to do this very orderly. So you start and then you say Troy, Jan, Jake, and then bang it out.
Okay. The first that we're starting in 2007.
Yes.
Superman Doomsday. Jan.
No Joker.
No Joker, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's a fine movie. It's pretty edgelord.
Yeah.
Have not seen it. Okay, we already fucked up on the first try.
Sorry.
Second movie.
Troy, Jake, Jan. That's where order will go.
Okay. All right. Second movie.
Okay. Justice League: The New Frontier.
One of the best superhero movies ever made. I love the 50s. It's an ensemble piece. The Joker appears as a still image floating across the screen near the end of the movie next to Harley Quinn. Fantastic Joker. 10 out of 10 Joker.
Holy shit.
Wow.
It's the best Joker ever.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I like this movie. It's pretty good. I've only seen it once, but I like the art style.
I have not seen it.
What? It's great.
Don't worry, Jan. I'm not a nerd. I don't think I've seen any of these. Okay, Batman Gotham Knight.
No Joker.
No Joker.
It's filler for Before the Dark Knight.
And some of the stories are cool, and some of them are ripoffs of the animated series and bad.
Have not seen it.
Cool. The 2009 Wonder Woman.
No Joker. It's pretty good.
Didn't see it.
No Joker.
Didn't see it.
Green Lantern First Flight.
No Joker. Pretty good.
Didn't see it.
Oh, cool. Superman Batman Public Enemies.
Not even acknowledged as the Joker. Pretty good.
Are these real movies?
These are real.
No, these are real. I know about all these movies so far.
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay. Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. I'm sorry.
You get to meet the alternate good Joker named the Jester, who lives on Earth 3, where the crime syndicate is the evil Justice League, and he's a heroic Joker, and he has a monkey named Harley, and he gets blown up in the first 2 minutes. It's a good time. I don't like it as much as the other ones. It kind of fell on a rewatch for me, but James Woods is pretty good in it.
Didn't see
it.
Batman Under the Red Hood.
Great. Like, one of the best Jokers. Like, we should have reviewed it for this podcast.
Oh my god, I've seen this one. I like it.
Yeah, it's really good.
John DiMaggio is fucking awesome as the Joker. He has his Bender voice, but he's also doing a little bit of Mark Hamill. When people think of like the good DC animated universe movies, they're thinking of this one probably. Also, shout out to Bruce Greenwood. He's a pretty good Batman.
Okay. A Superman Batman Apocalypse.
Very confusing. No Joker.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
All-Star Superman.
Didn't see it.
No Joker. Pretty good adaptation of a pretty good comic. A little easier to follow than the comic.
I've only seen half of it. I liked what I watched.
Green Lantern Emerald Knights.
No Joker, but it does adapt the Alan Moore Mogo story. It's a fine time.
Didn't see it.
Batman Year One.
It's okay.
They mention the Joker at the very end.
They do mention the Joker at the end of it. I think it's just a a Xerox of the comic book. I don't think there's anything that interesting going on in it.
That's why it's good. It's the comic book, and you got some good actors like Bryan Cranston as Detective Gordon.
But
and
all the atmosphere is sucked out.
There's a lot more atmosphere in this adaptation than, say, The Killing Joke.
Maybe.
I don't like the voice of Batman. It's the same guy who played Gordon on Gotham.
Sorry, Ben. You're not cutting the mustard here.
The rest of it is pretty good.
All right.
Okay, Justice League Doom.
Okay, there is no Joker. It's kind of mad. I would put it on the level of Killing Joke, where it will keep me engaged, but like I'm not getting anything out of it, and it doesn't really tell a fulfilling story.
Didn't see it.
Okay, Superman versus the Elite.
No Joker.
Fuck. Of course I didn't see that.
It's fine.
I didn't see it.
Batman: The Dark Knight Returns Parts 1 and 2.
Oh, I like those ones.
Hey, there's a Joker in this one. Scott Emerson's the Joker.
Michael Emerson is a great Joker in this.
Oh, Michael Emerson.
It's the guy from Saw. The art style is somewhat adapted. It's a little Hanna-Barbera, but you still have a lot of the Frank Miller atmosphere. Peter Weller is a great Batman. They do a great job adapting the Tunnel of Love scene. Yeah, you go watch it.
I like when Bane says, "I am Gotham's reckoning."
That's a different movie. I think, really quick, part 1, Dark Knight Returns, much like the comic book, a little stronger. I love the cliffhanger with the Joker.
Yeah, I do remember I liked the first part more. I remember it had like a techno score that I really liked.
Yeah.
Superman Unbound.
No Joker, but there's a Brainiac. It's good.
Didn't see it.
Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox.
Didn't see it.
All right, so this is the one where the Joker is Batman's mom.
Oh man, and it's a 10 out of 10. It's one of the best Jokers.
Okay, I have to see this.
Yeah, no, and Thomas Wayne is Batman, and Bruce Wayne dies, and so Martha Wayne becomes the Joker.
Okay, I thought you meant like the Joker birth.
Well, yeah, so in this universe, the Flash saved his mom, so it messes up reality, because apparently if the Flash saved his mom, it's Bruce Wayne who gets shot. So both his parents become Batman and the Joker. And if that sounds dumb and stupid, yes. Yes, it is.
Again, comics were a mistake. Justice League War. We're not even at 20.
Oh my gosh.
No Joker.
Okay, no Joker.
It's bad. It's just a big fight scene.
Didn't see it.
Son of Batman.
The Joker pops up in a window. It's fine. It's a little rushed.
Didn't see it.
Cool. Batman Assault on Arkham.
Okay, the Joker. This is in the Arkham Asylum continuity, but Mark Hamill does not play the Joker. It's edgelord BS. The Joker is in it. He doesn't do anything memorable.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
Justice League Throne of Atlantis.
Aquaman's in this. No Joker.
Paul, are you just interviewing Troy at this point? Of course we didn't see these.
I didn't see those.
Well, this makes it faster. Great.
Yep.
Batman versus Robin.
There is no Joker in this. It's pretty boring.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
Justice League Gods and Monsters.
No Joker, but Harley Quinn popped up in a short for this, and Batman's a vampire in this. So he like ate Harley Quinn, and Superman is Mexican, and Wonder Woman is a new god, and they all kill people, and it's a fine time.
Didn't
Bruce
see
Timm gets all his edgelord craziness out. It's a good. I have fun with it.
I'm gonna kill you, Doomsday, cabron.
No, it's like, what if Superman? What if Zod knocked Jor-El's sperm out of Superman, put his own in there, and sent him to Mexico, and he's like angry Superman?
What?
Okay. Batman Bad Blood.
No Joker in this. It's fine. It rushes a bunch of stories from the Grant Morrison era into one thing.
Didn't see it.
Justice League versus Teen Titans.
Annoying. Beast Boy does Dance Dance Revolution of Damian Wayne. Get it away from my face. No Joker.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
Ew. Batman the Killing Joke, obviously no Joker.
Oh, the Killing Joke I actually liked. That's a good movie.
No, Jen, you're supposed to say this is a movie I actually watched.
Oh, I saw this one.
This is one of the movies of all time. I'll say that.
Justice League Dark.
Justice League Dark has Batman, but no Joker. It's fine. It's the Justice League, but they're all magical. Guillermo del Toro and J.J. Abrams were supposed to make a movie about this. So far, nothing's happened.
I haven't seen it.
Teen Titans, The Judas Contract.
Oh, that's good, because that's based off an actual comic book. You know the story from Teen Titans where Tara betrays the team? That's what this was. and they adapted it again, and I thought it was good.
Yes, Paul, of course I saw Teen Titans, the Judas Contract at my local video store, and I watched the shit out of it. I love it.
It's a good one. It's one of the best ones. I don't know what to tell you.
I did not watch this one.
Teen Titans, the Cloverfield Paradox. These are just words. All right, anyway, Batman and Harley Quinn.
I saw Jake watching it at one point, and I thought it was embarrassing from what I saw.
Oh, we were watching it on a plane to Mexico, I think. I was. And
exactly.
I'm sure I was getting a bunch of dirty looks from everybody when Harley Quinn is fucking Nightwing. It's edgelord shit.
It's edgelord comedy shit, which is the worst.
It's no good. It's a stinky. Swamp Thing shows up at the end. That's cool.
Played by Mark Hamill. But no Joker.
No Joker.
Okay. Batman Gotham by Gaslight.
No Joker, surprisingly.
Oh, I also saw Jake watching that, and I thought it was pretty cringe.
This one is a lesser Mask of the Phantasm to me, but I still have a good time with it.
That's the one where, like, Gordon is like Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, Gordon and Jack the Ripper, pretty much. No, wait, is it Gordon or his wife?
I forget.
What is this, Trap?
Well, here's the thing about Gotham by Gaslight.
No Joker, by the way.
Yeah, there's no Joker in this, and the animation is an all-time low.
I thought it looks okay.
I think it looks like garbage.
Maybe you just don't like Bruce Timm's style, and you need to come to grips with this.
No, we don't like bad, cheap animation.
It's supposed to be Mike Mignola, which translates very well to animation. Watch Atlantis, or watch fucking Mr. Freeze in Batman the Animated Series. This does not do it well. Bad.
Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay.
This one sucks. Harley Quinn's in it. Amanda Waller. You know what? It sucks. Yeah, we're not even going to dwell on this.
Didn't see it.
Okay. The Death of Superman.
Oh, this one's pretty good. No Joker, but Batman gets beat up by Doomsday. This one's actually really solid. It improves on the comic book. Yeah.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
Reign of the Supermen.
That's a direct sequel to Death of Superman. Again, it improves on the comic book. No Joker, but it's a highlight of the line. Very solid adaptation.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
Justice League versus the Fatal Five.
Bruce Timm gave a crap, and the world rejoiced. There is one mention of the Joker in Arkham Asylum that he doesn't like Spaghetti Day or something.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
Batman Hush.
Didn't see it.
That's the only time you actually see Joker in the official DeCamu continuity.
I have no idea what
he's forgettable. It's a very bland Joker. He doesn't have a big role in the story. He's just there to be the Joker.
Okay. Wonder Woman Bloodlines.
No Joker. It's mediocre. The animation barely moves.
I personally love it.
Cool. Superman Red Sun.
Superman Red Sun, lots of fun. Wait, did we already skip Batman Ninja?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, maybe that's not an official one where the Joker becomes a shogunate warlord. Anyway.
Didn't see it. Anyway.
Well, that has to be a 10 out of 10.
It's all CGI. They all have mechas in like feudal Japan. It's crazy.
Okay. No communist Joker in Superman Red Sun.
Just communist Batman. I quite like it because Superman kills Stalin.
That's why I don't like it. I saw that clip on YouTube and it made me angry.
In the comic, he doesn't kill Stalin. In the movie, he rectified that.
Which is what we all should do. But it's pretty good. This is actually one of the later DC anime movies that I have seen, and I actually enjoyed.
Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Okay, so in this movie...
What? These can't be real, dude.
So in this movie, the Justice League declares a preemptive war on Darkseid, and they all get wrecked. Like, Green Lantern and Aquaman just get murdered, like, at the beginning of the movie. And so Batman is captured by Darkseid, put into the Mobius chair, and becomes his, like, strategist. And the first thing Batman does when he gets to Earth, kills the Joker off screen. They were like, oh man, first thing Batman did was murder the Joker. It was wild. And you're like, what? And at the end of the movie, it's so bad that the Flash has to time travel to erase the whole line of movies from never happening.
I wish I could erase a lot of things. Superman, Man of Tomorrow.
The one based off the Max Landis comic that they'll never acknowledge. It's above average.
I thought it was pretty good. It's all right.
Yeah, I felt it got a little bogged down in the Parasite stuff. No Joker, but he gets Batman's cape.
This is my favorite one out of all of them.
Cool.
Of course, I didn't see it.
It sounds cool. Man of Tomorrow. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Batman Soul of the Dragon.
Oh, this one's fun. Bruce Timm got to do like karate stuff. No Joker, but like a 9 out of 10. It's just solid action.
I like the poster.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
Justice Society World War II.
Oh my god, comics were a mistake.
Yeah, this one's above average. No Joker, no Batman. 2 Supermans. I like the 40s. Aquaman going Heil Hitler. Bold choice.
Less said about that, the better, I guess.
Batman: The Long Halloween Parts 1 and 2.
Oh, I did see that. That was okay.
Joker's in this. He's your typical Joker. I think for some reason the adaptation just doesn't translate. Batman just comes off as an idiot. I think the second half might be a little better because of the Two-Face thing, but it's just not. I wouldn't say it's top tier Batman filmmaking.
I have not seen this, but having read that comic a while ago, I would imagine it would be deceptively hard to adapt.
Yeah, because the mystery doesn't make sense, so they try to make it make sense from what I remember, and it still doesn't really.
Movie I remember being fine, I guess.
Cool. Injustice.
This is the one where Joker tricked Superman into flying a pregnant Lois Lane into space. And he's played by that weird grubby guy from Usual Suspects. So Superman rips his heart out. Yeah, it's not good. It's pretty edgelord. It's all rushed.
Didn't see it.
Damn. Catwoman Hunted.
Oh, no Joker. This one's very boring. You don't need to see it.
Okay.
Skip.
Green Lantern, Beware My Power.
You need to stop.
We only have a few more left.
This is just character assassination on Hal Jordan as part of the big Hawk Girl agenda. No Joker.
Didn't see it.
Okay. Batman and Superman, Battle of the Super Sons.
Oh, this one had a CGI Joker in it? So this is one where they're kids.
Battle
Superman's
of the Super
son.
Sons? Why? What?
So Superman's son and Batman's son, like they don't know how to get along because they're the little kids. No one takes them seriously. And then Starro takes out the Justice League and the Teen Titans. So then they have to team up. And Lex Luthor is the president, and Lois Lane is like their mom, but she's like hot. And like, it's a fun time. I quite enjoyed it. I think there is a little Joker in this, but I can't recall off the top of my head what he does.
This is like when Red Letter Media read nonsense death metal bands.
Yeah, these are like Jerry Springer titles.
And I'm Rich Evans. I've seen all of these.
Right. Yeah, we're all the way up to 2023 now. Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, this was good. That's like one of the best Supergirl things. No Joker, a little Batman.
Didn't see it.
Batman, The Doom That Came to Gotham.
Surprisingly, no Joker. I like this more than most people. I dig Lovecraftian Batman, and it had a sense of tragedy to it that I thought it actually earned, which I don't say about a lot of things.
Justice League War World.
I saw this one. So Batman is a warlord who kills people in Skataris, which is the place at the center of the earth where dinosaurs still roam.
It's the Hollow Earth?
Oh, it's the new Empire?
Yes, it's the Hollow Earth thing. It's from a 1970s DC comic. It's pretty mediocre. It's not good. Don't watch it.
You sounded so upbeat with this one. You're like, oh, there's a Hollow Earth.
I like Skataris, okay? I would just like to see a warlord movie set solely in Skataris where everyone's just running around in loincloths and Van Dyke beards, and it's just a good time fighting wars in between dinosaurs. DC, you don't have to make everything Batman. You can do other stuff.
Okay, what's the next one? Is it Batman?
And now up to this year, Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Parts 1, 2, and 3.
I didn't see it, but I have seen the part where Mark Hamill plays the Joker for the last time now, because they finally fixed his audio. It's a nice moment, I guess. Mark Hamill's Joker sounds a little weird, but it's good to have him in the actual 90s design again. And Kevin Conroy kills it in his last line as Batman. Fantastic end to that. The movie, from what I understand, is barely animated and doesn't make any sense. And you find out that at the end of Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, the last strangled Darkseid as a baby. So it's a multiverse of no Darkseid, which is what woke up the Anti-Monitor to destroy all the other Earths, which doesn't make sense because Darkseid is in the Batman animated universe. He's in the Super Friends universe. It's all about the movie. So clearly those can't be the same universe. Everyone's like the universe are dead. But that doesn't make any sense because clearly the universe is Darkseid. So those can't be the same universe.
Oh boy. So, but you didn't see this.
I didn't see these movies, no.
So, and then we end up with, I guess they just released Chapter 1 of Watchmen, with Chapter 2 scheduled for 2025. I'm sure they'll get it right this time.
No Joker.
No Joker in it. I actually plan on watching it because I am morbidly curious about it.
Cool. We survived that. Yes, to reiterate, comics were a mistake. I'm so glad that we are done with drawings.
Yeah.
No more drawings.
No more dumbass
We're
cartoons.
done with animation. We're done with baby kid stuff because
No, there's one more animation.
oh, well, it's not drawn.
All right.
Next week, we're covering a movie that is completely real.
Yes.
Real actors.
It's for adults. This series has reinstated that animation is not cinema, is a dumb genre for children.
Yes.
This movie that's coming up is the real shit.
This is next week's movie. It's got my back. I wouldn't advise being killed by it because it traps the souls of the people it kills in its sword.
That's right, because I've never gotten my soul back since 2016 when I watched it in theaters.
Oh, what are we? Some kind of self-harming podcaster squad?
Tune in next week when we talk about the tragedy of David Ayer. See you later.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye now. Take care.
Oh, fuck.